This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. It's a freaking Thursday, and I'm not high enough for this shit. Byronic already hitting the weed command. I'm down for it. Lazy Eyes, welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. Clinically, Warlord. Okay, Warlord, you dropped the ball. I would have streamed the Canadian debate if you told me it was happening. Why didn't you tell me like this morning? Or a couple days ago or something. Bad producer, bad. 2, you probably would rather me do the crazy ass fucking news I've got for you as opposed to the Canadian debate. Holiday, welcome in. Because let me tell you, Jesus bus exploding, a U.S. veteran hijacking a plane, an explosive violin, cops being called to a gender reveal party. It's just another day in mass shooting USA. Trump met with Italian Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni. Senator Van Hollen apparently stopped when he was in El Salvador. Trump saying he wants to fire the Fed chair. Oregon gal, welcome in. Oh, fucking A. I love the ocean is amazing. I was getting ready to say I've never seen the Pacific Ocean. I have multiple times. Damn, I smoked too much pot or something. Julie, energy flow. Girl in the gray. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to San Diego. I've seen the Pacific Ocean. I think it's actually cooler to look at than the Atlantic because it was clearer. I've been to the Atlantic many times. Beach at Florida, beach in South Carolina, North Carolina. Apparently there's beaches in Georgia. I didn't know it was, I thought Georgia was landlocked. Sparkle still makes fun of me, but it's just like a little tip of its ass that pokes out. It's basically landlocked. Oh, goddamn. I already did the headlines, didn't I? Yeah, these are two quality memes. But one's topical. I mean, both of them are topical, but one's like, I can't do it after Sunday, so I should probably do that meme. More weed. Hell yeah, Julie. Sorry I took last night off. For those of you on YouTube, Facebook, Kick, whatever, I was actually on Twitch just watching Whose Line Is It Anyway. I needed a day off. So we just kind of watched Whose Line Is It Anyway. I sacrifice. Not that many people watch when I'm just hanging out watching TV. I sacrifice my numbers just to chill out, have some fun. Here is your meme of the day. My homie and I when we catch the Easter Bunny staring at my girlfriend's titties. I miss doing the news when I don't do it, but like every day is just hard. I mean, I like watching car crashes and police chases and crime scenes, and I'm into it. So this Jesus bus, we've got video of the Jesus bus exploding. Apparently a house catches fire. It's going to be crazy. I got video of a rough landing of a plane in Puerto Rico, I think. I can't remember where it made a landing. Puerto Rico without power again. Apparently going to be days, if not weeks, before they're able to get it back on. Bus crash. There are like at least 4 children in critical condition after a bus crash in Texas. The Jesus bus exploded in Louisiana. It's probably a bad day to be traveling. Probably a bad day to be a student. Ragnitz, welcome in. Why is everything so stupid right now? I don't know. We're like there are many theories, right? There's people that think, we turned on the Large Hadron Collider. What was that? 2012, 2013. Capitalism is also a big part of it. Chainsaw, welcome in, my friend. Now streaming on Facebook, on Kick, D-Live, Odyssey, Rumble. I was having problems with Kick. It kept going on and off, but apparently I fixed that. You got to have like just the right amount of bit rate you're sending it. If you send it too much, it like fucks it up. But apparently everything's going smooth now. We're on Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, all the places. Find us everywhere. I stick my dick just anywhere it'll go. Any place that'll let me put it, I'll put my dick in it. Thank you, Chainsaw. I appreciate that. You've done a great job of cultivating an online network. I do a horrible job of cultivating an online network. Matter of fact, I probably piss people off that would be likely to be fans of mine, but it is what it is. Sorry, working gal. I apologize. It probably was a little TMI.
You live in sexual anarchy?
Don't forget, we've got the 5th anniversary show coming up this Sunday, noon Eastern on the Easter. It is the Troll Patrol Pleads the 5th Anniversary Spectacular. I've been doing this shit for 5 years now. Be here at noon with you guys. We will celebrate 420. I don't even know. Warlord, is it 420 at 12:20 our time? I'm going to miss 420 in London, I think. I think it's probably like 11:20 Eastern time. But maybe we do 420 in London. Usually I start with 420 Eastern and go all through the night. This year we're going to start at noon because it's Easter. And we're going to go till like 4 or 5:20 Eastern time. I'll try to make it to specific time. Get out to 4:20 with you guys at 6:20 p.m. Eastern and go off. I've got other things to do. There's a lot going on this weekend. I'm going to be tired. Sure, do it, Chainsaw. Always share I shared this shit on Truth Social. Make a ruckus, Chainsaw. Go for it. And like, here's the thing: I was hesitant to put this meme up because if you stare at if I had a girlfriend, you stared at her titties, I probably wouldn't care, unless you're just like nasty or something. Some chud staring at her titties. Like, she's not my property. If she's got her titties out, like, that's her prerogative. She wants people to look at her titties. If they're nice titties, I mean, fuck, show them off. But it was funny because it was Jay and Silent Bob, right? Hell yeah, working gal. What you barbecuing? When you say barbecue, do you mean that you're going to do some ribs? Do some pulled pork? Or are you saying you're doing like a backyard barbecue? We in America use the word kind of loosely. Some people call like hot dogs and hamburgers in the backyard a barbecue. Also fun, totally cool. Ooh, barbecuing a ham. Hell yeah. That sounds spectacular. I don't know what I'm going to be doing on Sunday. I might have to send my buddy out to get food while I'm on stream. I don't know how this is all going to go down. I have a jam-packed weekend ahead of me, and we've got a jam-packed night of news ahead of us, so let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that the crime and horror part of the show is the first part. We're going to be doing politics second. So if you want to step out for the horror show that is this country right now in terms of the shootings, bus crashes, children getting injured, killed, come back and join us in about like an hour or so, and we'll be talking about Trump and his bullshit. Just throwing that out there. We're starting off tonight with a content warning. And the familiar refrain, it's just another day.
We do want to bring into the conversation some of these figures and individuals, friends of Live Now, who we unfortunately have to call in stories like this, and they include our colleagues there, CEO of Global Security Group, David Katz, and
the suspect has been arrested.
Sherrod.
2 people killed, several injured.
Following the developments all throughout the course of the day.
Florida State University campus.
This is a college campus, Florida State. Thousands of students are enrolled there. This took place in the student union. We don't really have many details about how the shooting suspect was neutralized. We do know law enforcement did wound him in the shooting to neutralize that suspect in the hospital. But talk about some of the security parameters and measures that a college can take here, because I want to point this out and reiterate this. Back in 2014, 11 years ago, 3
He was a
people
cop's
were
kid,
shot
by the
just
way.
outside and inside the entrance of one of the main libraries on the campus of FSU. And unfortunately, FSU is not a stranger to these mass casualty attacks, the latest one happening today. How does a university guard itself against this?
That's an excellent question. You know, from the overall security posture, you have a college campus which largely is open, so you don't have the ability to control access. What you need to do, and we've done this, I mean, I've been involved in active shooter response training for at least 30 years now. Individuals need to be trained. So what does that mean? That means you're not, in many other emergencies, it could be a fire, it could be weather related, it could be any other, dozens of different type of emergency situations you can handle top down. In other words, in the case of a fire, the fire command center issues an alert and then tells people what to do, evacuate, stay in place, whatever the situation may be. Active shooter response is completely different. Why? Because without exception, the people who have the greatest amount of instant information are the ones who are immediately adjacent to the incident. So those individuals need to be trained. And from what I can see, they took largely the right approach. People were barricading themselves. They were moving to safety as quickly as possible. You mentioned the response of law enforcement. If again, you know, it's very, very early, but apparently there was a training day that was scheduled for this precise day. Whether the shooter knew that and tried to take advantage of it or not, the fact is that prepared individuals from law enforcement from the college were nearby and were able to respond in a very timely manner. But again, it's the individual training that has to be first and foremost. And apparently they did get some information to their students because they seem to know at least the basics of what to do.
Yeah, we also know that the 2 decedents here who tragically lost their lives today were not students, though multiple others were.
Interesting. I did not know that.
35 in Orlando, Marie Edinger, says in her reporting that they're going to be okay and survive their injuries. We're still waiting on another press conference or update from law enforcement. Josh, what we do know, and what's also so cruelly ironic and tragic about the nature
Not ironic.
20-year-old suspect, his name, Phoenix Eichner. He is the son of a sheriff's deputy there in Leon County.
As like Alanis Morissette over here using the word ironic wrong. No, that totally fits the profile.
Florida. The shooter had access to his mother's weapon. One of his mother's weapons was found at the shooting scene. When you hear that in a mass casualty,
Was it a service weapon?
through your mind coming from law enforcement?
I think that as soon as we heard the shooter was identified and we learned of his background and who he was, I think everyone across the board was fairly shocked. You know, since Columbine, really, we have, in law enforcement, had a dedicated effort to try to identify precursors, try to identify signs in some of these kids that would make them a larger target or a larger instance of becoming an active shooter. And every time we think that we have identified some commonalities, we have a shooting like this, where we have, a seemingly a kid or a young adult that had a seemingly good upbringing and has parents and they're involved in their life, but that just tells us the signs that we
do what? Isn't it always like middle-aged or middle-class white kids?
Looking at are just completely.
Isn't this like totally typical?
Incomplete. Over the next few days, we're going to see a lot, and we're going to learn a lot about the upbringing and the relationship and the family and how he interacted with his parents and with his mother and how involved in his mother's job and involved in the police department he was. And that's going to help us learn in the future of some other things to look for. But unfortunately, this continues to be an extraordinarily elusive topic of trying to identify these precursor signs so that we can get a grasp on this before it happens.
You know, David, we were talking here amongst ourselves in the newsroom, and if your parent works for a law enforcement entity and you take one of their weapons to go commit something like this.
Oh, she's arrested.
How are the parents, or in this case, the mother here, the sheriff's deputy in Leon County, liable or responsible in some way, in some capacity here?
We've started seeing parents being charged, and I'm all for it.
The provenance of the weapon used in these attacks, we know this one here, David.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a little splaining to do here because a couple issues. Without exception, your issued firearm is your responsibility, and you're required to keep that safe when you're off duty. Now, I don't know if there was a home safe or some mechanism by which this officer was able to secure her firearm, but whatever the measures were not in place, the son had access to it. So that is completely unacceptable for no matter what the case is. Now, with respect to, Josh brought up a good point, with respect to the signs, the warning signs that indicate a predilection for this type of violence. There have been a number of agencies, a number of psychological studies that have put out basically a list of things that are associated with acts of violence. So part of the training we do, as you know, is predictive. It's not 100%, but it is.
I was thinking like she probably is going to get the full force of the law against her because she's a woman
and perpetrates an incident like this. There are always warning signs. Some are missed, some are just ignored. And if that, in fact, is, for example, if this individual,
and if we find out it's a black woman, holy shit.
But
I think it was a white kid though, wasn't it? We've seen a picture.
Some aberrant mental issues. That fact, if it's in fact true, coupled with access to a firearm, is absolutely a recipe for a disaster. And this is what I'm guessing this is the kind of route we're going to see unfold as the days go by.
I just want to talk, though, about the warning signs, what you look for here. David, you alluded to the fact that people don't just snap and walk into FSU's student union and begin this here, but there's
most school shooters are, that's for sure.
To acknowledge and notice, Josh, but they're hard to report, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's vastly different from a case where we see in K through 12 and middle school and high school than opposed to a college. It's such a different environment. And the surveillance is so different. You may, teachers and faculty may see a student maybe once a week for an hour. It's not like a high school or a middle school where they're exposed to these students for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And they can
probably twice a week for an hour.
Start to see, decline in mental health. There's there's not that interaction. So it's extraordinarily difficult, more difficult in the case of a university where now we're relying on friends and family, but even family is somewhat disassociated because most college students might move away or they live away from home. So even that becomes more difficult. So now we're talking about trying to identify signs with maybe some friends if they have a big social group, but even then it's extraordinarily difficult. And then what do you report and who do you report it to and how do you keep from crying wolf? Those are the really difficult answers or difficult questions and difficult answers, especially when it comes to shootings like this where you have an adult that's actually perpetrating.
I mean, David, I would imagine, though, in the course of this investigation, that the mother, the sheriff's deputy herself, will be interviewed, right?
Without a doubt. So what I would guess is, I mean, I agree with Josh that once you're in the university settings, the ability of faculty and people in authority to interact with an individual student is far less intimate than you would get in high school and below. I'm going to go out on a limb here and think there's a pattern that's been in process before college actually came into the picture. So you will have, now sometimes family is willfully blind, but you do have teachers, you do have guidance counselors. There may be, I'm going to guess here, there may be some medical.
Oh, he's just talking out his ass now. Samson, Lenny, Flash, good evening. Welcome in, friends. This is the latest as we have it. That report was from about an hour ago. This is from... or maybe that was from 2 hours ago. This is about an hour ago. This is like the latest on the Florida State University shooting that happened just a few hours ago.
So we're going to turn it over now to our Capitol reporter, Forrest Saunders. And Forrest, there's still many law enforcement there. Any more word on the investigation?
No, it's going to be a real slog for them because this is such a large campus. That's what law enforcement told us at their press conference at 4:30, is that they have closed down large portions of the campus because this was such a big scene. We were, I would say, right across the street from the student union earlier in the day. We had an opportunity to kind of see how that investigation was coming along, and there were dozens, if not hundreds, of law enforcement officers from all over the place, not just across the state, but coming from out of state as well. You had the FBI there, the U.S. Marshal Service, Florida Wildlife and Conservation. You had local police, you had the sheriff's office, everybody working together to do the thing that they trained to do. In fact, we found out that Tallahassee Police was actually working on an active shooter training session.
If America wasn't America, school shootings would
So
plummet.
they were
Exactly.
working on this very kind of scenario as it was unfolding.
Not high enough for the
around
ship.
noon at the student union. Probably going to be a while. They have a lot of evidence to collect. They want to make sure that they build a case and that they get a conviction. As long as the shooter remains alive and is alleged to be the shooter, that is their job, is to make sure that justice is done. You've already heard from the Florida Attorney General, James Uthmeier. You've heard from Governor Ron DeSantis, both of them vowing that justice will be done in this situation.
Meatball Run.
We don't know the motives of this active shooter. We do not know any of the other, horrid details that led up to this instance. But that is something that law enforcement is working very hard on right now. You can see the area behind me. We're about, I'd say, a block and a half or so away from the student union. That whole area is just on lockdown.
Which is wild because he was a
It
jag.
is items still on the ground where students left them. They are even being instructed that they will not be able to get their stuff back immediately until those areas have been cleared of any crime scene investigation. So that is sort of where things stand. Of course, we will wait and find out more details at the next press conference. We still don't have the identities of the victims in this tragic situation, but we will be listening and, of course, thinking about them as the night wears on.
Oh, I can't imagine how many cops are on that scene, on that gigantic campus. You're right, probably 700. They travel in packs. Bad day to be a student, apparently. We're going to Texas, where 5 students are now in critical condition after a bus crash.
Our breaking news. It has been some very scary moments tonight for families in Lexington County as we are updating you now on this. This was a bus from Pine Ridge Middle School with Lexington 2 School District got into a very serious accident on I-77. Kids were just coming home from a field trip in Charlotte when, as you can see here, the bus flipped over in Chester County, flipped over door side down, blocking.
How did the wind knock it over? Like, I don't see another vehicle involved, which, I mean, I guess it could have tangled with a vehicle. There is a magic. It's magic. There's a tow truck over there with a vehicle.
Exit of the bus right on I-77. The school district says the bus was carrying 35 people, 35 kids on board, and 2 adults. We know 5 are in critical condition tonight. The bus, along with 2 other buses, were traveling again back from Charlotte. So emergency responders, the good news tonight is they were very quick to get to the scene. We know our News 19's Walker Lawson was there live as well. He said he saw several helicopters land on the highway and then take patients off to be treated. So our News 19's Shelly Garzone is standing by in Winsboro, where
Avalon, crazy shit,
come to reunite with their kids. Shelly.
Yeah, Andrea, that's right. As you can see behind me, I know at 5 and 5:30 we had a bit more of an active scene here, but as you can see, all students have picked up. The scene has been cleared. EMS, sheriffs, Fairfield Sheriff's Department, all of them were out here because, like you said, this was where students were picking up, or parents, I should say, were.
Oh, I'm sorry, this was in South Carolina. I said Texas.
Accounted for. They've all been picked up.
My apologies.
With a parent who just picked up her son, and she tells me she was in Charleston earlier today. It took her about 3 hours to get.
It was the LTX, because sometimes, like, KTLA is in Los Angeles. That's what threw me off. I was just assuming because it said TX that it was in Texas. This was in South Carolina. The bus was traveling back from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Here because she was at another field trip with another school district, and she was able to make it here to pick up her son 3 hours later. Here's what they had to say.
I just heard everybody start screaming and stuff, and I looked up and I saw the bus flipped over. People who were somewhat okay that were on the flipped bus had came over to our bus to sit and stuff, and then we asked them what happened. They ended up telling us.
The district moving forward does everything they can to ensure that our students.
What did they tell you?
I felt like they did do a good job. They got an email out pretty quickly. There wasn't much information, but I think they just didn't have much to give us at that time.
And Andrea, I know I've been telling you at 5 and 5:30, but I was on the road trying to get to this exit, and this is exit 48, the Shell gas station, where parents were being instructed to pick up their kids. It took me almost an hour to get here, and I was traveling on I-77 north, and that was completely shut down, coming the other direction as well. But I do have an update for you all that is now reopened, and people are able to move freely.
She's flipping us off.
7 north, and I will send it back to you in the studio.
Well,
All
fuck
right,
you
Shelley,
too,
thank you
ma'am.
so much. Yeah, so I-77 North open again. I-77 South, where that accident was in Chester County, is going to be shut down for some time as obviously they move the bus and debris off the roadways. So we will continue to bring you updates on air and at WLTX.
Yeah, that happening, coming back at the end of the school day, possibly. 2-3 o'clock range. That was the 5 o'clock news or 6 o'clock news talking about it. Let's talk about another bus before we move on to why you probably don't want to fly on an airplane. This happening in Shreveport, Louisiana. This was a Jesus bus. A Jesus bus. Call on Jesus. Oh my God.
Got it, dude. I felt that one. I felt that one.
Hell, Satan.
Hey, the piece of that bus hit the fence over there.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
No, I'm going on YouTube.
I'm going on YouTube. I fucked it up. Let's watch that again. Big boom. Can I slow it down? I can't because I'm not on YouTube. I'm sorry.
I got it, dude.
Call on Jesus. His response. Now, unlike the news reporter earlier, I'm going to use ironic correctly. That is ironic.
I got it, dude.
Serendipitous, even.
I got it, dude.
That is a very good question. Jesus can't take the wheel of one Louisiana bus. TMZ is cracking jokes, so I'm assuming not. Because it was blown sky high after the fuel tank ruptured and erupted, and the rapturous explosion was caught on video. The incident went down in Shreveport, Louisiana on Wednesday. Okay, it wasn't today, it was Wednesday, with the Shreveport Fire Department releasing a statement claiming firefighters arrived on the scene to find a sports tram bus burning with flames shooting out of the gas tank. Shortly after the SFD showed up, the bus blew up, and you got to check out the explosion because it rocked the intersection. Flames billowing from its charred husk. Before the explosion, the letters on the side of the bus read, "Call on Jesus." Though, if it had a phone number painted on the side, it's scattered around the small southern city now. The explosion happened near a Fresenius kidney care sign next to the roadway, the site of a dialysis center in Shreveport. SFD crews worked diligently to put the fire down, and they say no injuries have been reported. A Jesus-like miracle. I liked how punny TMZ wanted to be about this. Light one up.
Got it, dude. I felt that one. I felt that one.
Hey, the piece of
Ironically, Fire Resist shows up. Fire Resist? That bus, not fire resistant. As I think you guys can all tell. One more time. It's going to be unholy.
I got it, dude.
Let's go to Belize, or find out why you don't want to go to Belize. This is wild. A U.S. veteran, military vet, was on a plane in Belize, hijacked the plane, was shot by a passenger.
New at 3 p.m., an absolutely wild story out of Belize. An American military veteran was shot and killed after authorities say he hijacked a small passenger plane. 14 passengers and 2 crew members were on aboard that flight. Police say the suspect, identified as Atkinyella Taylor, stabbed 3 people, including a pilot. A passenger who was licensed to carry a firearm then shot Taylor. With all that going on, the plane did land safely. The motive for the hijacking is under investigation. Absolutely wild story out of Belize. An American military veteran was shot and killed after authorities say he hijacked a small passenger plane. 14 passengers and 2 crew members were on aboard that flight. Police say the suspect, identified as Atkanyella Taylor, stabbed 3 people, including a pilot. A passenger who was licensed to carry a firearm then shot Taylor. With all that going on, the plane did land safely. The motive for the hijacking is under investigation.
Somebody owed somebody money, perhaps? The State Department asked about this in a briefing earlier today. This is Tammy Bruce, the State Department communications person. I feel like there's 3 Fox hosts that looks exactly like her. Makes that face, too.
Hijacking on an airplane internally in Belize.
She kind of looks like Sidney Powell.
And it involved an alleged hijacker who was a U.S. citizen.
I thought Belize was a spot where rich people go and like hide their money offshore. Like that's where John McAfee went to, because like it's a really corrupt government, so you can buy like protection from the government from all the different gangs and shit. As I understand it, I don't fucking know.
Who, according to law enforcement reports down there,
War Machine, welcome in. Yeah, that was a top story tonight.
Police. He's been identified as a U.S. citizen and a passport.
Did you get auto-modded by Ronick?
Not yet. We watched that unfold, I think, as everyone else did. Horrifying. We are grateful, I think all of us are, that did not turn into a mass casualty event with, I believe, over a dozen people on the plane. Clearly, we know a few details. We don't know much more. But as I was actually working on the briefing,
Automod says, fuck his bitch ass. Fuck God and fuck his bitch ass son. Fuck his bitch ass. Not permitted. Apparently I can't prove it. It went by too fast for the mods to catch it there, Byronic. I'm sorry. But fuck his bitch ass is what happened. Can somebody that's not a mod, Byronic, say fuck his bitch ass again? That way somebody can permit the term. Michael, welcome in. This is State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce speaking about sports cards. Welcome in. I love that the whole chat's just like, fuck his bitch ass. She is speaking on the vet that hijacked a plane in Belize.
Does the State Department have anything on this?
not yet. We watched that unfold, I think, as everyone else did. Horrifying. We are grateful, I think all of us are, that did not...
I love you guys.
...casualty event with, I believe, over a dozen people on the plane. Clearly, we know a few details. We don't know much more. But as I was actually working on the briefing, that came across my timeline. It came across yours, and it's terrifying. But thank God we don't know about injuries or any other details. So I certainly can't comment.
We know a dude's dead.
It seems like there was obviously effective law enforcement on the ground, and that's all I have for you now. But obviously we're watching it as well. All right. Yes.
I hope he washed his bitch ass.
Life is too short to walk this earth for a crusty asshole. Wash your ass.
Hell yeah, Oregon Gal. Only channels where we can run a moke. I love the word moke. Doesn't get used enough. Puerto Rico apparently blacked out yet again. Could be days, if not weeks, without power again. I'm going to say that again. I've been doing this show for 5 years. I think Puerto Rico has been without power for most of it. The majority of it. It's insane.
Of these top headlines here. Our next one takes us to the U.S. island territory there of Puerto Rico. And this is what we are learning there out of the island, that more than 1.4 million customers in Puerto Rico lost electricity just today when all of the island's power plants were knocked out of service. The New York Times describes this as the latest frustrating blackout for residents who have suffered years of them. And so what you're looking at right now is this commuter train that was evacuated in San Juan after the island-wide power outage. This is the second island-wide power outage since New Year's Eve. Now, it caused this train to come to a stop on that elevated track there. Take a look at this. Now, Puerto Rico's Integrated Transportation Authority said the blackout prompted the temporary suspension of all service there on Tren Urbano. And you can see their footage from Ezequiel Sanchez showing a stalled train and dozens of passengers on the track there.
Can we please make it a state
and
take care of it?
Director of ATI, that's Puerto Rico's Integrated Transportation Authority, he said a total of 162 people were evacuated without incident, and that buses were being deployed and provided to help the passengers reach their destinations here. So can you imagine there, the power goes out, the train you're riding on there just stalls because of these island-wide blackouts here. I want to put this up. This is a statement there on social media saying this, that we have begun the process of restoring the electrical system following the unexpected shutdown of all generating plants. The Palo Seco plant came online around 3 p.m., which represents a key step toward system recovery. This is from Luma Energy, the spokesperson there, one of the main utilities.
Which I assume is a private company, right?
On current projections, it is estimated that restoring service to 90% of customers could take between 48 and 72 hours. They say we will continue to provide official updates through our channels as restoration work progresses. That is from power supplier Luma Energy. Also, we're hearing from Democratic Congressman from New York, Richie Torres. He says this: Puerto Rico's failing electric grid is a humanitarian crisis, one that will only worsen during the summer months when electricity demand reaches its peak here. Now, according to the New York Times, the blackout led to gridlock on Puerto Rico's roads as transit officers tried to direct cars at intersections with disabled traffic lights. People rushed to gas stations for fuel to power emergency generators. And we just brought you this video here of this train in San Juan.
And what, like, they just all went offline. All their generation stations went offline. That's... There was no hurricane. Beautiful day. They just all went offline. That's how shitty their grid is. Speaking of Puerto Rico, some passengers had a rough landing when they arrived in Puerto Rico.
Trouble on the tarmac. Passengers now speaking out after a hard landing in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
The Frontier flight from Orlando hit the tarmac so hard it damaged the landing gear. ABC's Trevor Alt has the story.
This morning, the FAA investigating terrifying moments on a front.
It's us, Oregon Gallo. We're a third world country.
Passengers so frightened they were calling their families to say goodbye.
Out of the sudden, it just slams in the floor. Everybody starts screaming.
The plane from Orlando was landing in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Tuesday night.
Ooh.
The landing gear striking the runway so hard it was damaged, parts breaking off.
They're checking for debris on the runway.
The plane then circling around in the air for another attempt, with passengers praying, children crying. Air traffic control closing the airport because of the debris, diverting every other plane. Passengers holding their breath as the aircraft finally landed safely. Flight attendants urging calm, directing everyone down the stairs onto the runway. Jeffrey Cerda filming on the tarmac, saying, "We made it, thank God."
A lot of emotion on that. That was ABC's Trevor Alt reporting.
Wow. Let's go to Chicago. Most absurd news, politics, current events. I'm living up to that tonight. A man has been charged after being found with an explosive violin.
An update tonight to a story we first brought you here on Eyewitness News. Our I-Team learning tonight a man has been charged with stealing a valuable violin.
Wait a minute.
Spurlock says it was taken during a robbery on Friday night at the CTA.
Expensive, not explosive.
It was handmade by his...
Read it wrong. Probably wouldn't have done this story. I might have been high when I was doing it. Okay, not as absurd as I thought. Thought a man had an explosive violin on a train. Sounded like a Looney Tunes kind of deal to me. Oh, God. See why I needed a break last night?
Tonight to a story we first brought you here on Eyewitness News. Our I-Team learning tonight a man has been charged with stealing a valuable violin. Cyrus Spurlock says it was taken during a robbery on Friday night at the CTA Clark and Lake Stop. It was handmade by his brother and is worth $10,000. 39-year-old Timothy Johnson has been charged with robbery. The violin case has been recovered, but the violin is still missing.
I'm sorry. Can we outlaw gender reveal parties? This one apparently ended in chaos. And the cops got involved. Outlaw gender. Yes, outlaw gender. Oh, thank you, Oregon Gal. I'll try.
Expected parents and their families always looking for fun and unique ways to have a gender reveal. But one Northeast Ohio couple's plan backfired when police had to get involved.
It was explosive.
Joe Nix with more on this unusual story.
Gender reveal gone bad. Because just as Andrew Soliday started spinning his tires, leaving a cloud of smoke behind, Kenton police were on the scene, and they didn't see pink or blue, they saw red. Oh, son of a... That's when the gender reveal turned into a burnout bust.
Get the car now!
Well, go ahead, lead them on chase.
Police ordered the driver of the muscle car to get out. Andrew Soliday was immediately placed in handcuffs.
Can I explain?
No.
I'm sorry. They just called me and asked me to come for a gender reveal.
So, I mean, I understand why they stopped. They saw the smoke, but once they pulled up and my hands are out the window and the grandmother and mother and everyone and me is telling them it's a gender reveal, to run up on me with guns out.
Who the fuck gives a shit if it's a gender reveal or not? I can rob a bank as long as it's a gender reveal.
Oh, and treat me like that was just crazy to me.
It was for a gender reveal, is all we were doing. As the grandmother of the couple having the...
Honestly, that makes it worse. If you were just out in the middle of the street doing donuts, burning it out, like, I'm probably going to take your side. The fact that it was a gender reveal makes me like, yeah, cops, you did the right thing. Take them away, boys.
The reveal on Lawrence Road Northeast in Canton tried to explain to officers what they were doing. Police did say they were sorry and not trying to ruin the moment.
Why?
Dealing with people that are doing burnouts and running from us. All right. Yeah. That's why we don't know what's going on. That's why we're getting out with guns blazing.
But the expectant couple, who by the way will welcome a little boy in August, feels Soliday deserves a personal apology from police. When I told Soliday what he did was against the law, he didn't dispute that, but feels pulling guns out was uncalled for.
Well, yeah, I understand that. But I mean, what about our rights? Was no threat. There was little kids standing, grandmothers out here. Where was the threat?
But no matter how innocent the cause or well-meaning the act, Canton police say the bottom line is that anything perceived as street racing, drag racing, or burnouts is a crime and against the law. In this case, they let the driver go with just a warning.
Seriously?
Reporting in Canton, Michelle Nix, 19 News.
I mean, I guess I should be happy. I don't like draconian shit, but like they didn't even take him in. They were like, oh, it was a gender reveal. I feel like after that, we need some catharsis, don't we? Who wants a police chase? We didn't get a chase there. We'll get a chase here.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the web. This is Gil Levis up in Sky 5 along with my pilot, Jim Pollard. We are over a high-speed, very dangerous pursuit that's southbound on State College in Anaheim right now. You can see, well, it went behind some buildings here, but we are having to go around the Disneyland temporary flight restriction. It is southbound on State College.
Fuck Disneyland.
Freeway right now. This pursuit's been going on for a while. It was up in the Fullerton area.
This happened last night.
For a while, is now down here in Anaheim, going in towards the Garden Grove area. And you can see the pickup truck there. And they're trying to pit maneuver. Oh, unfortunately, the buildings are in the way. We'll see it pop out here right near the 5 freeway. But again, a very dangerous pursuit. It looks like the vehicle had lost the tire already. They tried, I believe, a spike strip at one point. That sounds like it was successful. And it is now underneath the 5 going towards Chapman Avenue. And look at that. The police are right on its tail.
He's booking it, and it looks like the rear tire is at least down.
Accelerating. Here comes the 22 freeway. He's going to make a right-hand turn to get on it to go west. He's going to go underneath the freeway. He can get on it going eastbound here. We'll see if he...
I'm amazed he did not hit somebody.
There's the on-ramp. We'll see if he jumps on it. Looks like he's... Nope, he's not going to do it. He's going to have a dead end here. He's going to T intersection at Garden Grove Boulevard. If it continues here, he's going to have to go either east or west on the Garden Grove Boulevard. So we'll see what the driver decides to do. The truck looks pretty beaten up. At least one tire missing already. Here's the T intersection. He's going to come at us. He's going to go eastbound on Garden Grove Boulevard, which is Memory Lane. And look at that. They're trying to get into a pit maneuver position there, and the driver wise to it. And there it is.
Oop, boom. Boom.
Almost goes over the bridge there. He hit that side and bounced him back in. This might be over here with that pit maneuver against the center divider. They have him completely surrounded, guns drawn with the police there. That we're going to...
We've got a lot of smoke.
Might be spinning his tires trying to move the vehicle, and looks like shots are being fired right now at that vehicle. So a dangerous situation here unfolding on Garden Grove Boulevard right over the Santa Ana River, and it looks like the vehicle is stuck there, and officers, it appeared that shots were being fired at the suspect in that vehicle. This is right where the Santa Ana riverbed is. It's Garden Grove Boulevard or Memory Lane on one side, on the east side, Garden Grove Boulevard on the other. But it's right in the mid-span of the bridge where this pit maneuver was done. A perfect pit maneuver, crashing the car into the side, or the truck into the side, almost going over. If it didn't have that guardrail, it would have gone right
Seriously.
over the riverbed, but it went back into the side.
It tried to jump it.
The driver smoking his tires, and what looked like officers opening fire at the driver. And we're hearing that on the scanner, at least, they are saying that shots were fired there. So we have a large amount of officers here, still with their guns drawn, not approaching. During this chase, the driver ramming other vehicles, trying to ram the patrol cars. Airship overhead tracking it the entire time. It was on the 91 freeway for a time, went eastbound 91 towards the 57, got off the freeway, up and down in the Fullerton area, Placentia area.
In the Placenta area.
State College, came all the way down State College. And when we picked it up, we saw one of the tires coming off the
Why
rim.
am I like this?
There was a spike strip set up, and it sounds like it was successful. Officers trying to do a pit maneuver on the vehicle a couple of times. The vehicle kept going, made its way all the way down past the 22 freeway to Garden Grove Boulevard, a T intersection there, made the left turn to come over the bridge, and that's when the police, I believe it's Anaheim PD, did a pit maneuver on the vehicle, spinning it out, and it crashed against the guardrail and then bounced it back into the center divider, and that's when we could see the tires of the truck being spun and smoke coming out, and then we saw what looked like gunfire from the officers at the suspect. All right, we got someone coming out of the passenger.
Garbe. Yeah, basically just watched a police snuff film.
Officers demands.
Well, we had a passenger?
And he's going to go down to the ground. Not sure if that's a passenger or the driver, but at least one out of the vehicle.
Well, let's get the update, shall we? This is from this morning. Chase happened last night. Get the deets.
It ends with a crash and a police shooting. A suspect is dead.
Gigi Graciette is live in Santa Ana now with more on how all of this got started last night. Gigi.
And that's right. Good morning, Jen and Bob. Good morning, everyone, from a very rainy Santa Ana. The investigation.
I prefer gin and juice.
We're on Memory Lane between Bristol and the City Drive, and you can make out there in the distance that white pickup truck. That was a truck being driven by a shooting suspect that police were trying to stop just moments after a shooting. The driver didn't want to stop, and the pursuit was on. Take a look at the video. This all starting in Anaheim around 7:45 last night. That's when police got a call of a man down in the parking lot of a motel.
Whoa, we didn't see that part.
The man managed to describe the suspects and tell the police that they were in that white Chevy pickup. Police spotted it, tried pulling the driver over. He didn't want to stop. And again, the pursuit was on through the streets and freeways of Orange.
Wait a minute. Did they say they knew there was a hostage, a kidnapped victim, and they shot that quickly after the chase ended? Am I hearing that correctly?
Pursuit was on. Take a look at the video. This all starting in Anaheim around 7:45 last night. That's when police got a call of a man down in the parking lot of a motel. When they arrived, that man managed to describe the suspects and tell the police that they were in that white Chevy.
Oh, no, okay.
Police spotted it, tried pulling the driver over. He didn't want to stop. And again, the pursuit was on through the streets and freeways of Orange County all the way to the county line with LA and then right back into the OC. Pit maneuver after pit maneuver, causing the driver to lose control for just a few seconds, but he kept on going, driving the wrong way at times, sideswiping innocent drivers. The pursuit lasted about 45 minutes, ending here in Santa Ana with another pit maneuver. This caused the driver of the pickup truck to crash into a wall and then go across the lanes and crash right into the center divider, where he kept revving the engine in what appeared to be yet another attempt to get away from police. You saw all that white smoke there. What happened next? Well, it's all part of the police investigation. We don't know, but it did lead to at least one, if not more, police officers from the Anaheim Police Department opening fire, killing the suspect, who was the driver of the pickup truck. Out of the passenger side, another man came out. He wasn't hurt. He was detained for questioning for hours, but eventually released. He is not a suspect in the shooting. And take a look, because back at that motel in Anaheim, well, Anaheim police detectives continued their investigation there. They don't know or didn't know what the connection was between the shooting victim and the shooter, if any at all. That victim rushed to the hospital and straight into surgery. Bringing it back here live, Memory Lane does remain shut down, and in charge of this investigation, because it happened here in Santa Ana, is the Santa Ana Police Department, along with investigators from the California Department of Justice. Reporting live, I'm Gigi Graciette. We'll send it back to you.
Multi-jurisdictional investigation. Okay, Gigi, thank you.
So who was the person in the passengers if they weren't a suspect in anything? Explosive violin. Let's check in with my wafu. Her name is Karen Reed. She may or may not killed a cop. We don't know, but any way it goes, I feel like she's innocent.
At the end of this trial, jurors here will certainly know a lot about a dog named Chloe, including the size of its mouth. Karen Reed's first trial featured one dog bite expert who testified last year that the marks on John O'Keefe's arms were not caused by Reed's SUV, but rather by a dog attack.
There's a combination of both what I consider bite wounds and scratch wounds.
For this second trial, the prosecution wanted to have its own expert testify that the German Shepherd named Chloe, who lived at the house where O'Keefe died, could not have caused those wounds. In a ruling, the judge says the prosecution expert will not be able to tell the jury specifically.
That'd be her clinically.
But will be able to testify about the measurements of Chloe's jaw.
It's a little bit of a draw in one sense, but a little bit of a win for the prosecution over the first trial because they had no testimony around the alleged dog bite piece.
The defense also wants to bring back two crash reconstruction experts from a company called ARCA. They testified at the first trial that O'Keefe was not hit by a vehicle, and at a hearing yesterday, the defense said it recently hired the experts to possibly do more testing.
But if they are, once they get it, we'll turn it.
So her story is that she dropped him off, her boyfriend cop. They had been fighting. That was like documented. Apparently they were having a rocky relationship, but she dropped him off at like the middle of the night. They've both been drinking. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, if I remember correctly. It was a party with a bunch of cops in the house. Her claim is that they had shady business going on and the other cops killed him and then are framing her. Which is a plausible story, to be honest with you. Knowing cops the way I know cops.
But the judge says that's not good enough. She's ordered the defense to turn over by 5 p.m. tomorrow all emails, texts, letters, phone logs, and contracts that it has with the ARCA witnesses, and to tell prosecutors by noon on Monday if they plan to have ARCA do any additional testing. That will be one day before opening statements on Tuesday. And the defense is also getting something that it wants. Within 1 week, prosecutors must turn over any communications that they have had from their witnesses expressing reluctance or refusal to testify in this case. Live in Dedham, David Meenick, WCVB News Center 5.
I'm on her side. Put me on that jury. You've been keeping up with the case of the Menendez brothers. Apparently they are not going to find out today, or didn't find out today, if they were going to be resentenced.
The siblings are seeking a path to freedom more than 3 decades after murdering their parents. KTLA's Chip Yost is live at the courthouse with the latest. Hi, Chip.
Hey, Chip.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, this was set up to be a resentencing hearing. We were supposed to hear arguments about whether or not Eric and Lyle Menendez deserved to be resentenced and possibly be released at a later date because of that.
What do you think, Lenny?
We got none of that. Instead, there was a lot of arguing over other issues. One of the issues that
this happened when I was a kid. And I don't really know anything about it. They're claiming self-defense, that the parents were abusive, but there's no evidence that the parents were abusive, right? But once again, I don't really know anything about it.
That they argued over, it sounds like, is whether or not the LA County District Attorney should be recused from the case. That is one thing that Mark Garagos, the attorney for the brothers, is now asking for. He's one of the folks that has been speaking back here.
Mark Garagos.
A few minutes ago.
Who was he the attorney for? He's represented high-profile clients, hasn't he? I feel like he was the attorney in a celebrity thing.
Oh, he addressed that issue. Here's more from him.
Maybe Michael Jackson?
The family does not want to go through this charade anymore with the DA. They are going to, I anticipate, the motion hasn't been written yet, but given what transpired today and given what's obvious to anyone, I think, who has a couple of synapses that
Oh, no. I know his name from fucking Whitewater. He was Clinton's business partner. He has since represented, but he has represented notable clients. Gary Condit, Jeremy Mayfield from NASCAR, Scott Peterson, and Kesha briefly in her lawsuit against Dr. Luke.
still firing. This is a DA who made up his mind and did no hard work in terms of his...
And he did represent Michael for a little bit. Michael fired him. You got Tom Mesereau.
Garagos basically says he believes the DA is biased. One of the reasons he says he believes the DA is biased is what the DA did this morning. The DA showed up here, Nathan Hochman, to talk about this case, and one of the reasons he was asking for this resentencing hearing to be postponed. That is because the Menendez brothers not only have this resentencing hearing going on, they've also been asking the governor for clemency. As part of that, the governor ordered earlier this year that a risk assessment report be done. Hochman said he learned earlier this week that part of that report was done. In fact, he said his office had received part of that report, and he wanted that to be in the record for this resentencing hearing. He talked a little bit about that this morning while he was making his remarks to reporters. Let's take a listen.
When we received that risk assessment, we believed it constituted additional facts that the court should consider in deciding whether or not the Menendez brothers do pose a risk of danger to society.
And I think that's kind of it right now, right? Because they've been in there like 30 years. In other countries, like, you can't get a prison sentence more than like 25 years. So it's, do they pose a danger? Because like if they've served their debt, whatever, like, are they still a danger? Could they, you know, harm somebody else if they got out? That's kind of the question, I think.
These additional facts are based on a review that the parole board
sounds fucking callous as shit.
They look at all the records, the prison records, the interview records.
Have a good evening, working gal.
They talk to various people throughout the prison system about the Menendez brothers, and then they prepared a report that analyzes their view of the comprehensive risk that the Menendez pose of potentially being a danger to society. So we wanted to make sure that the judge got a copy of that report and considered it in connection with this sentencing.
Now, this hearing, the judge did not allow cameras inside, but our own Kimberly Chang was allowed inside. She was our eyes and ears in the courtroom. Kimberly, you heard a lot of this back and forth. It sounded like it was tense in there. Tell us, what's the next step? What is going to be going on going forward?
Absolutely tense, Chip. So we were in court starting at 9:30 this morning.
Well, yeah, Lenny, but like, we're talking 30 years they've served.
What he had to say was that...
Kelly, welcome in. Thank you for the resub.
Attorney Hochman wasn't in court today, but as you saw, as we just heard, he had a news conference outside on the courthouse steps, which really irritated Garagos and the family members. He said he's showboating. He said this is a dog and pony show, and now he told the judge that he intends to file this recusal motion, which they're going to discuss on May 9th. So the recusal motion basically against the DA's office, saying that he wants them off of this case. He believes Nathan Hochman is biased. He specifically mentioned this morning he thinks he's biased because he lived in Beverly Hills. His family did.
But also, they were adults when they killed their parents, right? I'm like, they did it for like insurance money or something. Am I wrong on that? Like, they were if they weren't adults, they were like 16, 17, some shit like that. But I think they were like 18 and 19, right? So, I mean, that seems kind of like sociopathic behavior. I'm torn. I don't fucking know. I'm not the one to ask on this one.
near the crime scene when it happened. He also said Nathan Hochman attended Beverly Hills High School, where the Menendez brothers attended, and he believes that during that time the community was in fear when the murders happened, and that Nathan Hochman has a personal bias because of his proximity to the crime scene.
What happened with this risk assessment report? Of course, the DA had his own argument that we need to wait and get this
21 and 18 at the time of the murder.
For the audience, this risk assessment, according to the governor's office, only a portion of it has been done. The rest of it should be finalized by a June 13th hearing they're supposed to have before the parole board, but Hochman wants whatever's done to be introduced, right? Tell me what happened with that in the hearing.
Exactly. So this morning, prosecutors were saying, we need the information that's in that risk assessment report. We need all of the information so the judge can make a decision on this possible resentencing. Now, the defense was saying that's irrelevant. We don't need to see this risk assessment. It doesn't matter what's in it. Now,
it's an adult under the law.
Will the governor's office provide that risk assessment to the court for this resentencing hearing? Because the clemency hearing is completely...
I mean, to claim that they were being abused by their parents, and I mean, I know, like, it's weird for me that, like, they're big guys. Like, it's hard to, like, oh, those parents right there were abusing you at the age of 18 and 21. That you could have left. They were adults that could have gone out on their own. But then again, that sounds icky of me, like trying to blame, it's victim blaming for a situation that they didn't ask to be in. I don't know, like, could these have been evil manipulators? I have no idea what went on, but it just, the idea that these are evil manipulators that abused these two and that they had no other recourse but to shotgun them in the face, it seems far-fetched to me. But also, I don't know.
Right, that's another path to freedom that the brothers are taking. So they took a recess. They came back into court at 1:30. The council met in closed chambers with the judge. They came back out and the judge announced at this point they have to reach out to the parole board in order to see if they can get that risk assessment. And they don't know if it's going to be admissible for the purposes of this resentencing hearing. So that is the second issue that they will discuss on that May 9th hearing.
So we had a resentencing hearing, but basically didn't really hear anything about what'll happen.
Dude wants to get out and tame some pussy, eh?
You said again, I'm sorry.
May 9th is going to be the hearing to talk about the recusal motion as well as that comprehensive risk assessment, the CRA. The resentencing hearing, we don't have a date on that yet. They just said tomorrow, which was scheduled to be the
So
second.
Battle Opossum, are you pro or anti kids shooting parents in the face?
So there you go.
I can't tell from your comment.
As far as what's going to happen next in this case, we're still getting comments from some of the folks involved in this. I believe some of the family members probably speaking right now. So we'll have updates throughout the evening. But for now, the resentencing hearing postponed to a later date. For now, reporting live outside the Van Nuys courtroom here. I'm Chip Yost with Kimberly Chang. We'll send it back to you.
I am definitely pro girlfriend running over her cop boyfriend. We're getting into the politics now. Content warning on how appalling this is as an American citizen who believes in the Constitution. A nearly deported man said he was mistakenly detained by ICE.
We want to go back to the immigration showdown and the folks caught in the middle. We want to bring you the story of Adrian Gil Rojas. He's a man who was here legally and claims he was mistakenly detained by ICE and thrown into a detention center. Weeks later, and because of a plane malfunction, he and his attorney believe he didn't end up at El Salvador's maximum security prison. This is the only time Rojas has spoken to an English language network, and here's what he had to say.
La verdad es algo que
Honestly, it's hard to explain what one might think at that moment, because only the person experiencing knows what it's like. It was traumatizing. They separated me from my family, from my son, who was very close to me.
Adrian Gil Rojas has reunited with his family after an experience he says changed his life. ¿Cómo pudo afrontar la situación todo ese tiempo? How were you able to manage during that time?
Getting removed and deported to a prison you're not supposed to be in. Because I'm not a bad person. I have no criminal record. And I was very troubled at the fact that I was deported to a prison where I didn't belong.
Originally from Venezuela, was detained in January by Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers. His lawyer tells us at the time they were searching for someone else.
It was early in the morning, and ICE basically just entered his home without any permission, didn't have any reason or evidence to detain him.
But Rojas' case is unique compared to other recent ICE detentions. Rojas has temporary protected status, also known as TPS. Rojas received TPS in 2024, which means he was in the country legally at the time ICE went into his home.
He's a TPS holder, and if you have TPS, you cannot be lawfully detained.
And then to the detention center, to the start of a long process. It was something that I wouldn't wish on anyone, and I hope to never live through again.
Rojas and his legal team say while he was detained, he was never told why. It wasn't until 2 months later he was told his TPS was revoked due to his affiliation with a gang, Tren de Aragua. The government citing his social media posts and his tattoos as evidence. But Rojas says that's not true.
No, I've never had any connection or communication with any members of any gang.
His tattoos are very personal. They honor his mother and his child.
What is your reaction to those allegations?
I'm going to be super clear. My client is not a gang member. There's no evidence whatsoever that he has ever been a gang member. He was detained for 2 months. He was never made aware.
ABC News has reached out to the
2 months.
Homeland Security for comment, but the request has yet to be returned. Weeks after being detained, Rojas' wife reached out for legal help, hoping it wasn't too late. Rojas, however, had just been put on a plane in Texas.
He was on the plane, but due to the plane malfunctioning, they all had to be returned back, which brought us an extra day to be able to file this habeas.
I'm grateful to God that the plane couldn't take off that day.
Rojas tells us
he was almost
a flight left from where he was being detained.
In fucking El Salvador.
It was one of the March 15th flights.
Thread, thank you for the resub.
More than 200 migrants to the El Salvador prison, CCOT.
That's when I realized the flight had taken off and people I had encountered were on the news and in El Salvador.
en El Salvador.
So what would have happened to Adrian had he been sent to El Salvador? I mean, he's not even from that country, he's from Venezuela.
That's correct. I think we would have lost contact with him. I don't think that we would have been able to get any form of contact with him. The clients that we have had deported to El Salvador, we don't know where they are, we don't know what time they arrive.
Are there other cases where individuals that have TPS status and are also being detained?
I can't speak about like the number of people that are in detention with TPS, but yes, those deportations have happened and they were unlawful.
Yeah, it seems like the status is being completely ignored.
Exactly.
Whether you have it or not, you're being removed.
Right. I think that's something we need to think about. What protections do we actually have if you're applying for this legal form of status and it means nothing, and it lands you in detention and potential deportation right after?
Ahilana Rulanantham is with a group of attorneys who just recently blocked the Trump administration's termination of TPS for hundreds of thousands of migrants from Venezuela. How do you think this will play out? I mean, I know it's hard to say. This is something that you're still in the middle of, but is it legal what the government is doing?
There's a lot of lawless behavior going on. I hope there's a way to stop it. The courts can play some role, but I also think it requires political pressure to create that pressure as well.
It's unclear what's next for Rojas, but for now, the government is monitoring him, and his next hearing is scheduled. The judge recommended an ankle monitor be placed on Rojas pending a future immigration hearing.
This woman is white, an American citizen, and she got a threatening letter telling her it's time for her to leave the United States. Fucking crazy.
It is time for you to leave the United States. That's the first sentence Lisa Anderson saw in an email she got from the Department of Homeland Security Friday.
The language seems pretty threatening to whoever it might actually apply to.
She thought it was spam at first, but the email was very real after Anderson had it vetted. What created confusion is that Anderson, who's a physician and lives in Cromwell, was born in Pennsylvania and is a U.S. citizen.
I really have no idea how my email ended up on that list unless someone else was using that as a false email.
She now carries her passport on the advice of attorneys and is looking for representation from an actual immigration attorney worried about legal repercussions, something she never thought she would ever need.
Seriously?
To do with immigration, and I never thought that I would be needed the services of an immigration attorney either, and that's where I find myself.
This comes just days after 2 Boston immigration attorneys got the same email from DHS despite being U.S. citizens themselves. A senior DHS official telling our sister station, NBC Boston, that Customs and Border Protection has been sending these emails to people who do not have lawful status in the U.S., saying, quote, if a non-personal email, such as an American citizen contact, was provided by the alien, notices may have been sent to unintended recipients. CBP is monitoring communications and will address any issues on a case-by-case basis. Anderson is warning anyone who may have gotten the emails to take them seriously and get legal help.
It does make me concerned there's a lot more people out there like me who probably also thought this was spam, who probably don't realize that they might have a problem.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking.
Shut up, Lester.
On the NBC.
Oh, that woman totally checks her email. Did you see her? The appeals court, just in the last couple of hours, hearing a case from the Trump administration appealing a ruling from a lower court. The appeals court denying the DOJ's request on Abrego Garcia and issuing one of the wildest judicial opinions I've ever seen.
An appeals court will not lift an order requiring the Trump administration to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the U.S. Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported to an El Salvador mega prison. He is a Salvadoran national, but was living in Maryland and was granted legal status that should have prevented him from being sent there. The Trump administration claims he's a gang member and says it has no plans to bring him back to the U.S. The appeals court ruling reads in part, quote, the government asserts Abrego Garcia is a terrorist and a member of MS-13. Perhaps, but perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process. CBS News Justice Department reporter Jake Rosen joins us now. Jake, what were the other takeaways from the ruling? Where does the case go from here?
Well, the big takeaway, Lindsay, is that those daily updates that the Department of Justice and Trump administration are required to submit, letting the judge in this case know what is actually going on, if there are any efforts underway, which, as we know, there are not. Those updates still need to continue as the case plays out. We know that in about 2 weeks' time, there's an expedited fact-finding due from both sides, and the plaintiffs are going to be able to depose 4 government officials who actively have firsthand knowledge of any operations that would be underway to bring him back. Certainly a striking time now where, after Judge Boasberg's decision yesterday to hold the government in contempt, this judge says she wants all the facts in front of her in this case before she can make a ruling on potentially doing the same thing and not returning Mr. Abrego Garcia.
An immigration judge has denied bond for a Tufts University student who was detained by Homeland Security officers last month. Rumeza Ozturk is her name. Where does this leave her case?
That's right. Ms. Ozturk had her bond denied in an immigration hearing today. So that was down where she is currently being detained.
They really just glossed over what the judge said, didn't they? Conservative judge blasts Trump's administration's shocking conduct. The administration is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. Further, it claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, that there is nothing that can be done. This should be shocking, not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. This is a Reagan appointee. Once again, further, it claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, that there is nothing that can be done. This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. CBS just kind of glazed over that. That seemed kind of important now, doesn't it?
That was her attorneys and the ACLU's move to free her. There were arguments last week, Lindsay, in Vermont, where she was being detained at the time that her attorneys filed a lawsuit. They're seeking to free her and have a federal judge order the same thing. We have not yet heard from a judge on that. Could potentially come soon. It's been about a week since those arguments.
And the Justice Department wants to step in for President Trump in the E. Jean Carroll defamation case. What's going on there?
Well, there's a law that says that because President Trump was technically in office when his initial comments about E. Jean Carroll happened, that technically he is immune, and thus the Department of Justice wants to take over this case and argue on his behalf. President Trump, you'll remember, was found guilty and owes E. Jean Carroll $83+ million for defaming her and talking about the interactions that they've had years ago. President Trump has appealed that case, and now the Department of Justice is basically substituting in for Trump's attorneys, as we know, most of which many of those attorneys have gone on to work for the Justice Department currently.
Finally, the DOJ has submitted a new filing in the George Santos fraud case ahead of his sentencing later this month. What can you tell us?
Well, the Department of Justice is seeking about 7.5 years for Mr. Santos. It was a very unusual move, and they cite a recent spate of social media posts attacking the Justice Department and saying, again, that he is still innocent in this case of all the things that Mr. Santos was found guilty about. They called out his, quote, belligerent and insatiable appetite for likes on social media, singling out a number of social media posts they have for him. His sentencing hearing is
DOJ. Doesn't that sound like somebody else that you just said that you want to represent in court?
Is next Friday.
Jake Rosen, thank you.
Oh my God. Chris Van Hollen went to El Salvador to try to get Abrego Garcia back, was denied access, apparently stopped by police. Thread, Prometheus. Who else snuck in here on me? Rocky, welcome in, friends. Good to have you here. This was Van Hollen's press conference from earlier today.
Our goal was very simple today, which was to check on the health and well-being of Kilmar.
Nuestra meta era muy sencilla, sencillamente verificar el bienestar del señor Abrego García.
But we were stopped by soldiers at a checkpoint about 3 kilometers from the CCOT prison.
Pero fuimos detenidos por un retén que estaba más o menos a 3 kilómetros de la prisión del CECOT.
We were told by the soldiers that they'd been ordered not to allow us to proceed any further than that point.
Y los soldados nos dijeron que habían sido ordenados a no dejarnos pasar más allá de ese punto.
I should point out that since Mr. Abrego Garcia was illegally abducted and sent to CCOT, he has had no communication with anybody on the outside.
Y tengo que decirles que desde el momento en que el señor Abrego García fue raptado de Maryland y traído acá, no ha tenido ninguna comunicación con nadie desde ese día.
His wife and his lawyers have tried to make contact with him. They've not been able to.
Tanto su esposa como sus abogados han tratado de contactarse con ellos sin ningún resultado positivo.
His mother wants to make contact with him. She's not been able to.
Su madre también ha querido hacer contacto con él y tampoco se le ha permitido.
And I, of course, tried to make contact with him because he resides in the state of Maryland, and that is where his wife and mother and brother also reside.
Y por supuesto yo también he tratado de hacer contacto con él porque él es residente del estado de Maryland y ahí también vive su esposa, su madre y su hermano.
So there's been no ability to find out anything about his health and well-being.
Así que no hemos podido de ninguna manera saber cómo está de salud y cómo está su bienestar.
The U.S. Embassy here has not been asked by the Trump administration to inquire about his health and well-being.
La embajada
Which is weird.
En El Salvador no le ha pedido a Trump que haga algunas averiguaciones acerca de cómo está el señor Abrego García.
And I should point out that this inability to communicate with his lawyers is a violation of international law.
Y debo destacar entonces que esta incapacidad de podernos comunicar con él y saber cómo está es una violación a la ley internacional.
El Salvador is a party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.
Porque El Salvador también es parte del Convenio Internacional de Derechos Civiles.
El Salvador has signed and ratified that covenant.
El Salvador ha firmado y ratificado ese convenio.
And that covenant says, and I quote, "A detained or imprisoned person shall be entitled to communicate and consult with his legal counsel," unquote.
Y tengo que decirles lo que dice, y cito lo que dice el convenio, que una persona que es detenida o arrestada tiene todo el derecho de comunicarse o de hacer consultas.
So props to Van Hollen for going down there. There is a photo going around on social media. I have not found a reputable source that verifies it. What they say is that El Salvadorian prison, and that it basically looks like a pile of corpses. I mean, just the prison conditions as we know of, it could be 100 things, Flash. You're right. That's why I didn't report on it on the show or anything, but there is a photo going around. It's pixelated. It's hard to tell. I've also seen people say that that was actually a slaughterhouse, that it wasn't, which also you wouldn't have a pile of corpses in a slaughterhouse like that either. You would think, Flash, but at this point, they're just being brazen about it. The governor of Maine saying that she is eager to take the Trump administration to court.
Trump administration is using this lawsuit to distract people from things that they actually care about, like the cost of fuel, cost of eggs, and cost of construction supplies.
To target one small group of people in America in order to divert attention from these other real issues.
Demagoguery.
Target people, a minority group, who are already targeted in other ways, in cruel and unfair ways, is a sad and cruel distraction.
Governor Janet Mills continues to stand her ground on Title IX. She says she will follow state and federal law, something she says she's been doing all along. She also says something that wasn't mentioned in yesterday's Justice Department press conference was that the state has already won in court.
She failed to mention that the state of Maine obtained a favorable ruling from the federal court just last Friday, that there is a temporary restraining order. The federal judge issued an order against the federal government from trying to withhold funds.
Mills says this lawsuit doesn't have any evidence to back it up.
The 31-page complaint cites no authority, no case law to support the president's
Paradigm, you're alive.
Title IX.
As we've reported,
Welcome in, friend.
multiple bills being proposed in Augusta that would change Maine state law to be in compliance with the president's interpretation of Title IX. But just a few years ago, gender identity...
Wait, did he take a picture with him?
Which is one
we just watched the press conference from earlier.
...can play in girls' and women's sports.
They passed that bill a few years ago, adding gender identity. They had a full hearing on it, why that should be in the law, and the legislature passed that, and I think I signed some of the amendments to that bill. No, look, I've said it's worthy of discussion.
Mills has not said if she would support or...
Okay, yes, within the last few minutes, apparently.
Current law on the books.
Yeah, the AP reporting this about 15 minutes ago. Van Hollen meets with Abrego Garcia. Met Thursday in El Salvador with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a man who was sent there by the Trump administration. Van Hollen posted a photo of the meeting on X, saying he also called Abrego Garcia's wife to pass along his message of love. The lawmaker did not provide an update on the status of Abrego Garcia, whose attorneys are fighting to force the Trump administration to facilitate his return to the U.S., saying he would have more details on Friday. Yeah, that's it. I've been on stream already, my friend. Yeah, we had like literally just watched the press conference from about 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock this afternoon. I feel like it was when he was on. So that's good to hear that he's alive. Let's go to Van Hollen's Twitter and see if we can... We'll see the picture. This is him. That's apparently Abrego Garcia. So good. That's at least a small win. We'll take them where we can get them. I would have, Josephus, if Warlord had told me about it. I didn't know it was happening. Welcome in, my friend. I totally would have. Instead, I'll probably cover it with clips on Sunday. Instead, we're going to be talking about Giorgia Meloni meeting with Trump, talking about tariffs at the White House.
Enter the so-called Trump whisperer for all of Europe. Looking live at the White House right now, where any moment at that door, the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni will get a presidential welcome. When they walk behind those doors, tariffs and the European Union will be subject number one. And you know, we always say when we see it, you see it, and there it is, live and in real time happening. The handshake, turn to get the photo, although blocked a little bit by Old Glory there, but the thumbs up from the President of the United States as Giorgia Meloni, a conservative, walks into the White House to begin some pretty important meetings. So let's talk about that. Meloni's mission to try and convince President Donald Trump to scale back that 20% reciprocal tariff in exchange to secure a 0-for-0 deal. Now remember this, President Trump hit all European exports with a 20% tariff on April 2nd, but then hit the pause button shortly thereafter. But remember this, it was just a pause. Those tariffs set to kick in July 9th, and that sets a ticking clock for countries to line up to secure a deal. So you can see that lineup happening in real time. So let's start there at the White House with CBS News White House reporter Erin Navarro. Erin, we just saw her go in right there. What does Italy want to get out of this sit-down?
Reed, that ticking clock you mentioned is so important and is kind of the reason why Meloni maybe was the first figure from Europe, from the European Union to meet with President Trump. She has been sort of knighted, designated as the representative of the European Union, has been in touch with the European Union president as she tries to convince President Trump not to just pause the reciprocal tariffs that he's looking to place on imports from Europe, but to get rid of them altogether. Now, what does the White House want from Meloni? Well, senior Trump administration officials say they want to get Italy to raise their GDP spending on their defense from 1.49% to 2%. They've talked a lot about how they believe Europe should have the means to defend themselves instead of relying on the United States. And the administration, the Trump administration, largely sees Italy as a bridge to Europe on trade. They see
She can be my fascist mommy, Flash.
Figure who is seen eye to eye with President Trump on issues like immigration and Ukraine, and they're certainly using this moment to not just talk about tariffs and the trade negotiations, but as well.
Yeah, let's hear the moment that they talked. I thought this was from after the meeting. Let's cover a little bit of the questions they took from reporters.
Does Vladimir Putin have to respond to your ceasefire proposal before you put secondary tariffs or sanctions on Russia?
We'll see what that will be. We're going to be hearing from them this week, very shortly actually, and we'll see. But we wanted to stop.
You know what? I actually like Trump's tie.
To stop.
Mr. President, on Jerome Powell, you said that the termination of Jerome Powell cannot come fast enough. He says he won't leave it, even if you ask him to.
Oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. But
do you believe
I don't think he's. I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him.
He's him attacking
and
Fed Chair Jerome Powell.
If I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast. Believe me.
So
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I actually had that clip for later, so let's go ahead and move on with Warren responding, Senator Elizabeth Warren responding to Trump saying that he wants Jerome Powell out. The Fed also apparently had a press conference where they gave a bleak assessment of the economy.
At Post 9 is Senator Elizabeth Warren. She's also just signed a new letter to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, alongside nearly 50 other Democrats, criticizing President Trump's tariffs as a corrupt scheme. Welcome, Senator Warren. It's great to have you here at Post 9. What a treat. All right, let's start on Powell. Sure. Just as a reminder, so Congress gives the Fed the authority. Can the president terminate, not that he said he's going to do this, but can he terminate Powell's chairmanship earlier?
He did say he was going to do it.
Term.
No.
Under no circumstance.
Nope.
So that's not a concern for you.
Does it? Well, I thought we were talking about legally, right? But this is a president who has shown himself willing to violate laws every place he goes, including willing to violate the Constitution of the United States. So that obviously puts things a little more in play than we ever would have guessed. But I really want to make a pitch here for a second about the importance of Powell staying in his job. Look,
and it's unusual coming from you. You're very critical of him.
I have tangled with him on a regular basis about both regulations and interest rates. But understand this, if Chairman Powell can be...
He's at least competent.
...of the United States, it will crash the markets in the United States. The infrastructure that keeps this stock market strong, and therefore a big part of our economy strong, and therefore a big part of the world economy strong, is the idea that the big pieces move independent of the politics, that somebody is making his, their, her best decisions economically and independently. We understand that if the New York Stock Exchange, if interest rates in the United States are subject to a president who just wants to wave his magic wand, this doesn't distinguish us then from any other two-bit dictatorship around the world where everyone knows what your big investment risk is. Will that dictator wake up in the morning and have a tummy ache and decide to cause this problem or favor that friend? That's why we need to strengthen the infrastructure.
But I know you are not the president, but you have also been very vocal in terms of wanting Fed Chair Powell to cut interest rates.
Sure.
Especially when he was raising it. And you and I have talked about, like, maybe you shouldn't inject your politics into the Fed. That's essentially all he's doing here.
That's the question. When he talks about terminating Powell,
is she auditioning for a job on Fox News?
Soon enough. His term ends next year.
You think he was saying term in? Look, I hope he was saying term in. I think what he's doing is testing the waters. Does he think he can get away with firing Powell and all of you won't raise any hell about that? He's checking that out. And I'm just saying, for the strength of our country, I hope all of you are pushing back at this point.
Well, the bond market certainly would push back significantly.
Absolutely.
We're not seeing as much today. I do wonder, they have taken a case to the Supreme Court in which they're testing the ability of the president to fire heads of independent agencies. Is that an important decision?
Yep.
Sometimes until we hear of it, but if the court should side with the Trump administration, does that embolden him to move faster on Powell, for example?
Absolutely. That is the question that's going to the United States Supreme Court. But I just want you to note, even the government's briefs so far, at least as they've laid their argument out going to the Supreme Court, even they are itchy scratchy about saying that would include the Fed. You know, can we just remember why we do this? Going back to 1863, our first financial regulator, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, still exists today. What did we do? We made them right in the middle of the Civil War. We decided we've got to have a bank regulator for stability, right? Financial stability in our country. We made that bank regulator financially independent of Congress. It was a way to try to say, look, we understand.
Anonymously. That's what I thought too.
Officials, Congress or the President of the United States.
What went through my head?
Hear from a constituent, can hear from a donor, and then bring pressure on those financial regulators. Ultimately, it undercuts the entire economic system and makes us all vulnerable. Every financial regulator since then, the OCC, the credit industry, the CFPB, the old OTS, all of them have been financially independent. And we need to preserve that, not for the politics of the moment, not for whether I think the interest rate should go up or down 3 months ago when we had such a strong economy. But we need to preserve it because overall, that's what keeps the system strong year after year, decade after decade.
You would agree jawboning between the executive and the Fed is nothing new, right?
Jawboning
is different.
How is it different than this? I mean, I'm curious. How is it different than this post?
Partly, jawboning occurs out in public, but nobody threatens anybody's job. At the end of the day, presidents always, even in the jawboning, have said, I recognize you are the one who makes the decision. Look, I will try to persuade Jerome Powell.
You would be responsible for 2 million job cuts.
I believe that. I am glad to do that. I do it in hearings. It's called oversight. But it's all out in public. Anybody can see it, and I don't threaten his job. And the President of the United States should not threaten.
He has said before he's not going to mess with Powell's job. Powell and Besson have
said a lot of shit.
Following a long-standing tradition. So I don't think the market's alarmed about it because I don't think they think that that's where it's going.
Well, if you want to rely on what President Trump said a few weeks ago, that's fine. Are you one of the people who relied on the fact that he would never, never, never back down from those tariffs? Or are you one of those people who said, no, now what he's going to do is a 10% across the board, but no exceptions? Oh, are you one of those people who said, I believe the president when he said it's going to be an exception for that donor,
roaster,
that friend, and that one who is in my business.
So
damn, Warren cooked her there. Trump says a trade deal with China is in the works and could come like any day now. Who the fuck was he in the Oval Office with?
Of how far along these negotiations are with China? Are they in the early stages, or are you inching closer now to actually making a deal on tariffs?
I think that we will make a deal with China. I think we've had some very good talks, but we will have some very good talks remaining. And, I view it, and some people say, oh, rush. I think we have a lot of time. I think we have plenty of time. But we have very, very good. You saw Japan was here yesterday. We had Italy today. We had a great conversation with the Prime Minister. We've had very good talks yesterday with Mexico. Talking with everybody.
That's probably a good guess, Flash.
So many hours in the day. I think we're going to make a deal with China. We're going to make a deal with everybody. And if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a target, and we'll live with that, and it'll be fine.
How much time do you think that you have?
I would think over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think maybe the whole thing could be concluded. You have to understand.
Those Tommy Bahama shirts.
Big, if you think of us as a big, beautiful department store.
You like them a lot more when you're high on crack.
We're a big, beautiful store, and everybody
I was on crack.
wants a piece of this.
Right. Wait.
Japan wants it.
What is he talking about? Hold up.
Maybe the whole thing could be concluded. You have to understand, we're a big, if you think of us as a big, beautiful department store before that business was destroyed by the internet. We're a big, beautiful store, and everybody wants a piece of that store. China wants it, Japan wants it, Mexico, Canada, they live off it, those two.
What?
Us, they wouldn't have a country. And everybody wants a piece. And at a certain point, if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a limit. We'll set a tariff. We'll set some parameters, and we'll say, come in and shop. They may not like that, and they may find it, or the market may find it too high. You know, more likely the market, but the market may find it too high, or the country may find it too high. Then they'll come back and say, well, we think this is too high, and we'll negotiate, or they're going to say something else. They're going to say, well, let's see what happens. But they always have a right not to do it, so they can say, well.
I mean, if you're talking about like countries as a store, isn't China more the store? And like they sell far more to us. It's insane.
Want it, so we're not going to shop there. We're not going to shop in the store of America. We have something that nobody else has, and that's the American.
What up, Bulletproof?
And I had the most successful. I had the most successful 4-year period in the history of this country, and I think we're going to blow it away this time. But there is a little bit of a transition, and we're going to have that little transition, and it's not much of a transition. You know, if you look right now, we're getting 25% on cars, right? We're getting 25% on steel. We're getting 25% on aluminum. We're going to have some other things that we're going to be adding in the not too distant future because we want them to be made here. The medicines, the drugs, pharmaceuticals are going to be done, and computer chips, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, we have the biggest computer companies in the world coming in from Taiwan and other places, and they're building in Arizona and lots of other places.
Thank you, Biden.
Number one in AI by far. We're leading China by a lot.
No, we're not.
We're going to supply electricity at levels never supplied before. They're going to build.
What, to Puerto Rico?
Let them become a utility, essentially. And it's going to be amazing for the country. They're going to build their own electric plants. We have to double up our electricity to remain number one in AI. We're going to have to double up our electricity take our whole country. We're going to have to double up our electricity. Think of that. And probably even triple it up. And we're going to let them build their own electric plants with their plant that they're building for the AI or whatever they're doing. Never been done before.
He's got no idea what he's talking about.
It's going to be very clean, going to be very nice, and we're going to get them very fast approvals. And people are investing in this country like they've never invested before.
Do you want a cyberpunk dystopia? Because this is how you get a cyberpunk dystopia. Just start letting the tech companies come in and build their own power plants. Their own AI plants or whatever they're doing. Everything's computer. We're going to go to South Dakota, an area that voted for Trump by roughly 70%. And they have been highly affected by the Trump economic policy. Let's hear from them.
I wanted Trump. You wanted Trump? Yep. There was no way in hell I wanted her out there. But now I don't know what would have been better.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting the lower cost of a lot of just your everyday living things and hoping that he would make things better for everybody in America, because that's what we need. Groceries are already outrageous, and then we put the tariffs on across the seas or whatever, like China, all that. It just makes everything more expensive for everybody.
Jamie Basinger is the only person we met in eastern South Dakota who openly questioned her own political views. Most people we talked to said it was risky to talk about politics here, even as the effects of Trump's tariffs loomed over the agricultural economy in an area that voted for him by about 70%. Generally, opinions were divided between trust Trump's plan and how can you still like this guy.
Wait, so Becky, let me ask one thing. Are you in a politically mixed marriage?
Yeah, did you see the Joe Biden sign? Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Becky Hofer was not afraid to talk. She's a Democrat, and her husband is a conservative non-voter. She's a freight broker. Basically, if a company needs to ship bricks, she'll find you a flatbed truck. If you need to ship meat, she'll get you a refrigerated truck.
Ooh, you need the truck tomorrow? Can you guys, fork a pallet jack into the back of the trailer for him to pallet jack him to the front?
This gives her a window into real-time shifts in the economy.
Everybody's nervous. People are making different decisions for different reasons, but some of it's hesitation, some of it's actual price changes. Everybody just wants some stability right now.
And those shifts can be complex. She says China's retaliatory tariffs on American pork and beef could lead to higher prices on fruit.
Right now it's produce season in California. We need to get out to California. What goes out to California? Meat. We haul pork, we haul beef. Where does it go? It goes to Asia. If it doesn't go, the price produce is gonna go up even that much more because they're gonna have to pay more for the trucks.
As we've talked about, you're in a really conservative area, very pro-Trump area. Do you feel frustrated in trying to talk to your neighbors about what's going on?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing that frustrates me is that I just feel like nobody cares right now until it affects them. And I don't understand how they don't see that. They're not dumb. These people aren't dumb. And they're not unkind people.
I disagree.
People. And thoughtless people, so I don't understand why they're okay with it.
Hofer introduced us to her neighbor Rod Olerud, who is feeding cattle and who, for now, is okay with it.
I just think we need to let the president do what he's doing, and we need to just see what's going to happen here and give him a little latitude so that, if it doesn't work.
Did you give Joe Biden latitude?
Okay. So you're willing to let the president try some stuff to see?
Yes, to see if this works. Let's give the president a chance, and we'll just have to go from there. Looks like a little boy.
Tommy Baruth thinks we already give it a chance. He's a retired soybean farmer who saw what happened in 2018 when Trump put tariffs on China.
The export market just went right down the tube because these countries could buy them from other places cheaper. Brazil and other countries were the ones that...
Yeah, people want to talk about Trump's first term. Yeah, let's talk about Trump's first term. First of all, if you're talking about 2017, 2018, thanks, Obama. After the Trump tax cuts passed, which is about the only legislation you can point to, we saw increased inflation, increased wealth disparity. You can see the effects of the tariffs he put on Canadian lumber and steel was already driving up inflation in 2019. You can see the tariffs he put on soybeans, this guy talking about it. Totally killed the soybean market.
They benefited from that.
I read that it stayed that way, that now China buys a lot more from Brazil.
Exactly. And a lot of times those markets don't come back.
Doug Bjerke runs a lawn mowing business. He says Trump's plan will work out in the long term, even if some crop prices fall.
Yeah, the price might come down, but when them people start starving, they're going to come back to the table.
You mean in the other countries?
Yeah, we're a gracious nation feeding the world, and we shouldn't have to without getting something for it.
Rick Ekman says in the 3 days
we do.
Tariffs, cattle futures dropped below the point of break even for his farm.
Never had him do this before.
Yeah, he really likes you.
No.
Did you vote for Trump?
No. No, I did not.
Why not?
You want me to be truthful? I think to get to where he's at today, he's stepped on people, and he's got no morals, I don't think. I don't like the man. I don't like him.
Why do you think so many of your neighbors do support
I don't
him?
know. I guess I don't see anything good about him.
Does it affect the way you think about America?
It scares me.
Terry Nebelsick, a lifelong Republican and retired school superintendent, was very careful in how he talked about the political climate. He's concerned that Trump's push to dissolve the Department of Education will cut public school funds for needy kids.
It will.
Potentially at a time of economic turmoil.
If poverty is happening to adults, children are hurting. And where adults sometimes just have to work through it and make sure there's food on the table. During that time, we have children and adolescents who are forming who they're going to be. And I do think that the public school is a collecting point for people to be able to reach those kids and make sure that they're fed and have medical attention and have their basic needs met.
Again and again, our conversations in this Midwestern nice town came back to character and values.
When Sheila and I raised our children, we taught them to be honest, not try to cheat anybody, to respect. Trump doesn't do any of those things.
Do you find a lot of farmers around here agree with you, or are they fans of Trump?
This is a very Republican state. I think it's too soon for them to say they're wrong.
They'll never say they were wrong.
Ellie, I love the conversations that you are able to bring to us and bring to light. Given everything that we just saw, do the Trump supporters that you spoke to, do they regret their vote?
I get that question so much, particularly from people in bluer states, and again they say no. Right. They really put a lot of faith in him. One man described him as courageous, and they said people have told me they're willing to take a serious financial hit to their own personal finances.
To own the libs.
Do his thing, because they really have faith in him, that he's the only one willing to do what needs to be done.
To turn it around. I think that's fascinating that they are willing to say, I'm willing to take the hit. Yeah. Take that pain, but how long? That's that big question now. It's great to see you.
Good to.
Thank you.
So, talking about the tariffs, obviously.
The bulletproof. You came in here, you say you... I'm not sure about arguing who dropped more bombs, a bit fuck no, but you made the assessment that Trump would be better. And then Flash gave you the numbers that no, the Democrats were better on an issue that you supposedly cared about. And then you moved the goalpost. Casey, good evening, my friend. So, I mean, if your concern is less bombs dropped on people, then that would mean that you would support the Democrats. Harvard students making their voice heard today, protesting the Trump administration's move to cut off their funding.
Hundreds of protesters gathered at Harvard demonstrating against the Trump administration's threat to take away the university's ability to enroll international students. WBZ's Christina Rex was in the crowd talking with international students who tell her they now worry what's next for them.
Harvard students protesting in the center of campus Thursday with signs about free speech, Palestine, and international students.
We had nearly a dozen of our own community members get their visas taken away.
Harvard is the first top university to openly defy the Trump administration's demands to drop DEI programs and silence campus protests, costing it $2 billion in federal funds. Late Wednesday, the Homeland Security Secretary took another $2.7 million, writing, with anti-American pro-Hamas ideology poisoning its campus and classrooms.
Wow.
Harvard's position as a top institution of higher learning is a distant memory. America demands more from universities entrusted with taxpayer dollars.
It is so scary.
Swedish international student Leo Derden is set to graduate in May.
I've looked forward to the day of commencement for 4 years now,
I hope I don't spend it in a detention center in Louisiana.
But DHS is demanding that Harvard report its international students to the government for alleged violence or illegal activity.
If we give him 5 names, he's going to demand 100 more. So I think that this is the time we have to say, no, this is enough.
But not all students feel that defying the federal government is the right move. Here's Harvard Republican Club President Leo Corner.
I have a lot of friends who are international students. I don't want to see them go. I think that's sad. But if Harvard doesn't, comply with federal law, that might happen. I hope they comply with federal law. It's sort of a protest, and it's becoming so extreme that they're really going to hurt their reputation.
And new today,
who's going to hurt their reputation?
Now launching another investigation into Harvard, claiming the university has not complied with civil rights law.
Waste, fraud, and abuse right here. Where's our Doge?
In Cambridge, Christina Rex, WBZ News.
All right, Christina, thank you. Now, so much has happened that we wanted to give you a timeline of how this federal showdown with Harvard first began. It was back in March that the Education Department wrote to more than 60 universities, including Harvard, asking them to protect Jewish students or face consequences. On Friday, Harvard got a letter from the federal government with a list of demands which needed to be met in order to keep receiving federal funding. Well, on Monday, Harvard refused, with its president saying it would not allow the federal government to control a private institution. Well, within hours, the Trump administration said it would freeze more than $2 billion of funding. And on Wednesday, we learned 2 more consequences. First, the IRS is now looking to pull the university's tax-exempt status, and the Trump administration threatened to bar foreign students from actually enrolling there. The White House press secretary also said yesterday that the president wants to hear an apology from Harvard.
Wow. Come on, free speech warriors. Where's all our freedom fuckers at? Why? What? Like, this is clearly the government applying pressure to a university for wrongthink. I'm disappointed in anyone who doesn't stand up against that. Of course they don't care about anybody else's speech. It was always about, they wanted to be able to drop fucking slurs on Twitter. That's what this was always about. They wanted to be able to say the N-word on Twitter. I am frankly appalled. I'm going to hit the content warning for this because what is getting ready to be said by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is appalling to anyone who knows children with autism, has family that is affected by autism. He is a gigantic piece of shit.
Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children.
7 News at 6 begins with the fallout from those comments made Wednesday by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Kennedy announcing he'll lead the charge to find out what's behind an increase in autism cases, confident the answer lies in what he calls an environmental...
I am confident that we're just diagnosing it more. People will say, like, oh, autism didn't exist 100 years ago. My grandfather wore the same outfit every single day, had to have the same socks bought for him, had lunch at the same time, worked on small engines and appliances.
Toxin. Good evening to you once again. I'm Ed Ranch. The health secretary is no stranger to controversy, and his announcement is generating some pretty strong reaction. Dozens of you weighing in on our Facebook page critical of Kennedy's comments. We keep that conversation going tonight with voices who know this issue best. Parents with children with autism. Kennedy's promise to find the cause of autism comes on the heels of a new CDC report released Tuesday with an updated look at the prevalence of autism. The report shows in 2022, 1 in 31 American kids were diagnosed with autism by 8 years old. In 2020, it was 1 in 36 kids. 25 years ago, It was 1 in 150. The report attributes more diagnoses in part to increased access to screenings, especially for previously underserved groups. With the health secretary's words fresh in their minds, a Niagara County family is sharing their voice and experiences with autism with 7 News senior reporter Eileen Buckley. They tell Eileen Kennedy's comments feel like a slap in the face.
As a parent, it feels like a slap in the face.
Laura and Andrew Chenard of Youngstown have been on an autism journey with their 7-year-old son,
the puppies,
diagnosed with spectrum disorder at the age of about 2. They tell me they're disgusted and disappointed in the health secretary's remarks on autism.
Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children.
It doesn't destroy us as families. It doesn't destroy our children. If anything, I think this journey has completely made me a better human, a better United States citizen, a better local community advocate.
Where are you going? How do you respond when he says it's a disease?
It's very upsetting. It is not a disease. It's a genetic disorder.
What would you say to RFK if you were standing across from him right now?
I'd say come meet my son. Come spend a day in my house.
I was going to say he's going to beat him up.
And I spent time at their home to see their son engage with his parents, playing the piano.
Yes, Casey, plenty of normal children have autism.
Never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball.
To hear them say that he will never be able to do something was horrendous.
They do actively contribute to society. They do hold jobs. You know, they just have their own part to play.
A few years ago, Theoden couldn't even hold a cup in his hands, but now he's making amazing strides.
Kind of makes me a little emotional thinking about it, but he went upstairs on his own and sat on the toilet on his own.
Our son, who was diagnosed severe autistic nonverbal, he is now doing his 1, 2, 3s, his ABCs. He's singing and scripting songs.
But for this family, they believe that the sky's the limit for their 7-year-old for his future.
Don't let someone tell you never. Do not let someone tell you never.
Eileen Buckley, 7 News, Youngstown.
Casey, what I meant was there are plenty of children you would consider normal that have symptoms of autism. There are plenty of successful people that have the tism, that are high functioning in society. So to imply that having autism makes you abnormal is ableist. Low Avs, welcome in, my friend. Llama, hope you were doing well. DJ Dub, hats off to you. DJ Dub is here. Everybody smoke one. Damn right we can. And since you're here, let's go back to a video that we watched earlier in the evening. Several people have joined us. Oh, no, say hey to you, user. I'm sorry. My apologies. Let's go back to this video, which I'm just amazed by. Call on Jesus.
Got it, dude. I felt that one. I felt that one.
Hey, the piece of that bug hit the fence over there. It did.
That's the Jesus bus. Call on Jesus. This happened in Shreveport, Louisiana. Nobody was hurt. Apparently, this was taken by the firefighters after they arrived on scene.
Hey, the piece of that bus at the fence over there.
It is a bus that says "Call on Jesus." It caught fire and eventually exploded.
I got it, dude.
Outside of a dialysis office.
I felt that one.
You see kidney care there. Femvox.
The piece of that bus.
We don't know how it caught fire. We've just got the video.
I got it, dude.
Hell yeah, Casey. Glad to have you smoking with me for the special.
I felt that one. I felt that one.
You're exactly right, Michael. I didn't mean it as a slight. Yeah, there are people that are nonverbal. Could have been meth. I honestly, if you were wanting to hide a meth lab, a Jesus bus might be the best place to hide it. It's been a wild night. A military vet hijacked a plane in Belize. Dude was arrested at a gender reveal party. That was good video. I liked that. Oh, the best one tonight is when I thought the story said explosive violin, but it said expensive violin. And it wasn't as fun of a story as I thought it was going to be. I thought a dude was arrested because he had explosives inside of a violin. Some Democrats are in an uproar, in a tizzy, over David Hogg and his activities inside the DNC. Tell us about it, Major.
Joined now by our political panel. Amar Moussa was Director of Rapid Response for Vice President Harris's campaign. Kevin Sheridan, a regular participant at this desk, former spokesperson for the Republican National Committee and a former senior advisor way back when for the Romney-Ryan campaign of 2012. Amar, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. I don't know, did you see...
Way back when. Law Dog, welcome in.
Your instant rapid response to that.
Listen, this is who David has been. He's always been a fearless and tireless champion for democratic ideals and principles.
Is he right?
I don't think Democrats should be afraid to have these tough conversations in public. I think we have, as Senator Booker said during his 25-hour filibuster, we haven't gotten everything right, and we shouldn't be scared to have these conversations in public. We spent $1.3 billion on the Kamala Harris campaign, and we still lost. And so I dismiss the argument that we should be putting $20 million for frontline districts, and we should have these conversations about.
Do you believe there are asleep at the wheel House Democrats?
I think we could be better as a party.
Yes, yes.
Definitely do.
Kevin, you're gloating over there with a face that's almost beatific. Weigh in, please.
Well, they're both right that
the Democratic Party needs a culling.
% in the polls as a party, and that might as well try something new. However, I was at a campaign committee, and the #1 job of the campaign committee was to protect your incumbents and make sure that they're resourced enough and unity inside the party. However,
I would say that, let me ask you this, because you went through a postmortem after 2012,
yeah,
where a lot of Republicans were asking what went wrong. This was a winnable race.
No, it wasn't.
Best handled, and is it best handled quietly internally or externally with primary?
Who in the fuck would have thought that Obama in 2012, that was a winnable race? Are you serious?
For people perceived by one or another as ineffective within the...
Well, the RNC that conducted that, I was long gone by then, but they got everything wrong. Because Donald Trump came down the escalator and said exactly the opposite of
what the autopsy report
so
was
it might
after
take
20.
It might take an outsider for a Democrat to emerge like Donald
But
Trump.
also that's discounted. So Garrett thinking that Romney could have somehow in any universe beat Obama is just insane to me, because Obama was a cult of personality. And then fucking this dude is discounting the fact that, like, oh, Trump said the exact opposite. It wasn't Trump's messaging. It was Trump was a cult of personality. I think you could have a Republican saying the exact shit that Trump says and it wouldn't land.
One of one, obviously, so I don't know if there's anybody out there like that. But some new ideas are probably going to have to emerge for the Democrats to come back. They're in a rough place right now.
I want to play for both of you something that Lisa Murkowski, independent senator from Alaska, said at a town hall event.
This is a wild clip.
Yesterday. Let's listen.
We are all afraid. I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice because retaliation is real.
So the first thing the senator needs is a better handheld microphone. If you didn't catch all that, ladies and gentlemen, she said she's afraid retaliation is real, trying to find her voice as a sitting United States senator. Amar, what's your response?
I mean, Senator Murkowski is saying the quiet part out loud, that this is a Republican Party that has completely given itself up to Donald Trump. This isn't your grandfather's, this is actually not Kevin's Republican Party of 2012 when he was working for Senator Romney and Paul Ryan. This is a Republican Party that doesn't believe in the Constitution, openly talking about running Donald Trump for a third term. It's a Republican Party that doesn't believe in free trade anymore with a reckless tariff strategy that's raising costs on families. It's a Republican Party that doesn't believe in the rule of law anymore, openly flouting the Supreme Court and court rulings. So I think every American should hear what Senator Murkowski is saying and be afraid of what this means for the future of the Republican Party.
The retaliation is real part, Kevin. True?
Watch me rip what?
Senator Murkowski has often taken forward-leaning oppositional positions to Donald Trump.
She got out of the party and she ran as an independent.
Welcome in, kangaroo.
She caucuses with the Republican caucus.
You want to see me rip something, I'll break out the bong.
She voted against his cabinet nominees.
That's a rip.
Voted for all of Biden's nominees. So, she's doing her thing. I think you'd have to be much more concerned as a Republican if you heard this come from somebody like anybody in leadership or anybody who's in a swing state district that hasn't gone independent. I mean, that's just not a.
Do you think she is
entirely
alone in saying retaliation is real in Republican ranks if you buck the president?
Light one up, tip one back.
To some degree, it's real, and to some degrees, it's always been there. But in other cases, it's just not. We're going for unity right now, as a party. Everybody has to swim together to get these bills passed. And if they don't enact an agenda, they're all going to fail. They're all going to lose. And they know that. So it's retaliation and
sorry, kangaroo. I apologize.
In the eye of the beholder.
Amar, I want to
cancel Justin.
You're very familiar with George Clooney and his maybe outsized role in either being a conduit to fundraising or kind of a avatar of where.
Look, I don't want to run anybody off. I want the politics and the news to be accessible to everybody. I've thought about not doing the pod on stream because I can't stream on TikTok. But what I decided on was TikTok probably isn't going to like a lot of the more violent content I show anyway. So fuck TikTok. I'm going to keep smoking pot. One of the Democrats that I'd really like to see the new blood in the DNC go after is a woman who just announced her re-election campaign. You're not going to believe who said she's going to run for re-election.
20 minutes now past the hour on this holy Thursday morning. Democrats continue coming apart at the seams. DNC's 25-year-old chair, David Hogg, he's age 25, now taking aim at the party's incumbents with a major bankroll of younger challengers. Chad Pergram watching this from D.C. How's this going over, Chad? Good morning there.
Good morning, Bill. Well, Democratic infighting is so bad that they are undercutting one another. That's why there's concern about David Hogg spending millions to launch primary challenges against Democratic incumbents.
I think David Hogg is doing the right thing, and that's why they're going after him. I have that video from her. I've meant to play it.
Younger candidates like 26-year-old TikTok influencer Kat Abugazele is challenging 80-year-old Democrat Jan Schakowsky. Schakowsky has been in office longer than her challenger has been alive.
Unfortunately, this party has become one where you have to look to the exceptions for real leadership, as the majority work from an outdated playbook. We need a makeover, which means we need a vision that's bigger than what we've been told is possible.
Democrats are torn about leaning on veterans who serve the party well and changing the guard.
They have not served the party well.
Pelosi intends to run for re-election next year.
Talk about the California Democratic Party. 40 years ago, again before many of you were born, I was retiring as the chair of the California Democratic Party.
You could call them the odd couple. 35-year-old Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and 83-year-old Bernie Sanders are barnstorming the country. They connect with progressive voters.
Our message to Musk
Dougie, welcome in.
Trump are: we are not going to allow you to destroy the Veterans Administration or Social Security. They also have incredible and unprecedented political power.
Now, the DNC contends it is up to primary voters, not the party, to choose the candidates. But this underscores division in the party as Democrats try to gain a toehold against President Trump. Bill?
All right,
Droopy dog over here.
Thanks. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brad. What up, Steve Doozy? That is an orgy couch. I wouldn't be. He looks like the Joker looked after he fell into the vat in the first Batman.
Well, watch it. Thanks. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click.
Anybody taking that orgy couch? Media Winch absolutely should. Is she in Pelosi's district? I thought she was in a different district. Pelosi does have a challenger, actually. Hold on. Because I think they announced long time ago Psychot Chakrabarti. Because I think we covered when they announced. Psychot Chakrabarti, a former tech worker, is calling for generational change in the Democratic Party. This is the challenger to Nancy Pelosi. Former chief of staff for AOC announced this was February 5th that he would challenge Pelosi in the primary, citing the former speaker's efforts to prevent the progressive New York Congress member from becoming the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee. Indian Harry Potter. Let's vote for Indian Harry Potter. I can't vote for him. But her decision to not back AOC for the Oversight Committee resulted in him running in the primary against her. Now, I will say there is one redeeming quality for Nancy Pelosi. I will always stick up for her titties. Nancy has some nice titties.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Yes, I have a picture of Nancy Pelosi's titties just saved on my computer where I can access it easily. I firmly believe that she's upset about Trump because she didn't get a taste of the cashing in that they did on the tariffs. They didn't let Nancy in on it, so now she's all upset. Well, I didn't get to do any insider trading. Let's go to 4chan. Do you guys want to hop on 4chan real fast? Let's log into 4chan and do a little trolling. You want to? Well, you can't. 4chan is likely gone forever after hackers took control. The site was brought down on Tuesday with someone on a rival message board claiming responsibility. Finally, some potential good news. 4chan, the anonymous message board. Was 4chan really that bad? I actually did have an account. I never got on there, though. I'm on everything. Find me on Truth Social. I'm JustinFREAKIN. Find me on Rumble. I'm BitChute. Find me on if it's allows me to create an account and post my shit, put my dick in it, I will do it. I'm JustinFREAKIN on all the accounts. What disgusting Nazi platform is there out there? I'm on it. Go follow me on Kick and Rumble. On Tuesday, the notorious site began experiencing a series of outages following a major hack that purportedly exposed its source code. As reported by Wired, a user on rival forum soyjack.party. I'm not on soyjack.party. I need to get on it. Claimed responsibility for the attack, posting screenshots allegedly showing 4chan's back-end structure and a list of alleged moderator and email addresses. Soyjack.party users then started doxing the accounts included in the data leak. TechCrunch spoke to a janitor for junior moderator or junior spoke to a janitor or junior moderator. thank you for the freaking follow, Kangaroo. I'm dying over here. Soyjack.party. Sounds like a type of vegan cheese. Soyjack Party. Soyjack Party users then started doxing the accounts included in the data leak. TechCrunch spoke to a janitor or junior moderator, or junior janitor possibly, whose email was listed in the leak, reporting that the person said that they were confident that the hack was all real, although the janitor said they were unhappy. Was this Charlie? Who's doing Charlie work, was unhappy about the greater magnitude of the leaked information compared to the past. They expressed greater concern about 4chan's future. I'd wager that the fact that 4chan was effectively taken over by hackers is probably worse than screenshots, at least from the perspective of the site's continued operation. Wired spoke to UC Riverside computer science and engineering professor Emiliano Di Cristofaro. That's an awesome name. Emiliano Di Cristofaro. About the potential impact of the hack. It seems true that 4chan hasn't been properly maintained and patched for years, which might indicate that a hack would have definitely been a possibility. Did you get that? Like it's like 2017 since they updated their source code or something. They haven't been patching the site. There might be some high-profile users exposed as moderators. Traditionally, 4chan users hate them, so they might be targeted. It might be hard or at least painfully slow and costly for 4chan to recover from this. So we might really see the end of 4chan as we know it. If that's the case, the final words posted on 4chan may be chicken jockey. The final words ever posted on 4chan may end up being chicken jockey. And it was a picture of Jack Black from the Minecraft movie. Is that what we're looking at? Okay. The anonymous town hall seems to have been hacked this morning, and it may be down for a while. Who knew a Minecraft movie would make so many waves? Even if 13-year-olds had an inkling, they likely never would have predicted today's news. The live-action adventure has already fueled both the worst movie-going trend and the best box office weekend of the year. No, it may go down in history as the very last thing referenced on one of the worst websites to ever grace the internet. This one small aspect of our long national nightmare may be over. The anonymous message board that spurred on such gems as QAnon, mass shootings, flat earth conspiracies, the manosphere, and a whole lot of white supremacist bullshit appears to have been hacked. The attack seems to have stemmed from a rival forum called soyjack.party. The last ever post may be the words chicken jockey as shown in the screenshot. Is that the screen? This is the screenshot. Oh, here we go. That's the actual picture. So someone posted this picture of Jack Black and says, "What the fuck is going on here?" And the response was chicken jockey. What does it even mean? Has anybody seen the movie? Can you tell me? I don't know. All caps chicken jockey. And it's Jack Black with a gray beard. You guys gonna clue me in? I don't know what a chicken jockey is. Does Jack Black chicken jockey in the movie? He says it when a little zombie is riding a jockey on a chick at beating the shit out of Jason Momoa. No idea earlier. He's being looks like he's in a wrestling ring and that's his tag team partner to me. The whole thing is confusing. I don't understand Minecraft. No, I'm not playing dumb. Clinically has seen the Minecraft movie. I'm not playing dumb over here. I really don't know anything about Minecraft. It makes no sense to me. I do know something about cowards. And I'm calling out the fast food chain, Wendy's, for being fucking cowards. They dunked on Katy Perry, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. Wendy's says it has a ton of respect for Katy Perry after posting, "Can we send her back?" Fast food chain stopped short of apologizing. Since I'm bringing it up, this was the other meme that I was going to use for the meme of the day today. Let some of you get a kick out of this. Wendy's has issued a statement to People magazine amid the buzz around its anti-Katy Perry post on X that asked if the singer can go back to space. The fast food chain went viral on April 14th when Perry joined Gayle King, Jeff Bezos' partner, Lauren Sanchez, and other women. The account, that one woman was really hot. What's her name? None of the stories mention what her name is. The account Pop Crave announced Katy Perry has returned from space after the mission ended, to which Wendy's social media team replied, "Can we send her back?" The fast food chain wrote another post on X that was critical of the Blue Origin space launch by saying, "When we said women in STEM, this isn't what we meant." It wasn't Katy Perry. I don't find Katy Perry attractive. People is running a story about how Wendy's should apologize to Perry, with one source telling the magazine this was a billion-dollar brand using its platform to publicly demean a woman. It wasn't doing it because it was a woman. It was doing it because it was Katy Perry. However, the company stopped short of issuing an apology in its statement to the magazine. "We always bring a little spice to our socials, but Wendy's has a ton of respect for Katy Perry and her out-of-this-world talent." Harry's Blue Origin space flight sparked a lot of backlash online, though its purpose was meant to bring attention to women in aeronautics. Celebrities like Olivia Munn called it gluttonous, adding, there are so many other things that are so important in the world right now. Why are you guys going, what are you guys going to do up in space? You didn't do anything but sightsee. Amy Schumer, Olivia Wilde, and Emily Ratajkowski also shared posts critical of the space flight. Gayle King defended the mission in an interview with Extra, saying, I think it's good that we can really address it because I was one of those people before I went on this flight and before I became educated. Why are we spending so much money on space when there's so much to do on Earth? I was one of those people. King said she changed her mind when she looked at what Blue Origin does, which is figure out a way to harness the waste here and put it into space and to make the Earth a better place. Wait a minute. Are they saying they're going to shoot trash into space? Because that's a real big problem we have currently is space trash. That's the first I heard about that. But you can look it up. Space trash, like the stuff we have sent into space, satellites and shit that aren't operable anymore, are a huge problem. And fucking SpaceX is sending shit up there all the time. Turning it into fuel? Okay, well, that's a little different. To figure out a way to harness the waste here and put it in space to make the Earth a better place, I wish people would do more due diligence. And then my question is, have you all been to space? Go to space or go to... First of all, you didn't go to space. Or go to Blue Origin and see what they do and then come back and say, this is a terrible thing. As fuel, the majority of it would get burned up, yeah, inside the atmosphere. They never fucking leave Earth. They weren't in space. They went up far enough in our atmosphere to be able to be weightless or something, right? This is the Blind Cat Sanctuary. And they do awesome work. I love them. Midwest Blind Cat. Hold on. Blind Cat Rescue Sanctuary, Inc. They are in St. Paul's, North Carolina. They're in St. Paul's, North Carolina. There's another Midwest sanctuary I follow. But this one is in St. Paul's, North Carolina. Hey, babies. Blind babies need the most attention. To be mostly weightless. That's what I thought. It was like, I saw a meme that said it was the billionaire Gravitron. Oh, sweetie. Look at that baby.
Alright guys, we're gonna go ahead and start a tour. Let's show off Helen and them first.
I just had a cat sneeze behind me.
It is in this order now, ain't it? Skylar started in this room the other day, didn't she?
I think so.
Smell and hearing.
Well, here goes Mrs. Helen. She's roaming around, being vocal.
Oh, did you hear that peep?
See if she'll roll over for us today.
Carla, welcome in.
She's not gonna roll over. She is roaming around.
Quesadilla, did I tell you good evening? Anybody in chat, raise your hand if you didn't get a good evening.
And here goes Mrs. Marmalade. Marmalade's sitting on a disc right now.
Oh, she's had something done. They've had to give her an IV or something like to shave her little legs like that.
She's squishing the camera.
I'm so glad these babies are in good hands.
She's helping.
She's helping.
Mrs. Marmalade, Miss Helen's still talking down here. She would not roll over for us today.
Oh, give me that belly.
Bless you.
Oh.
Good night, Lenny.
She's so energetic.
I need to do my plugs. I'm going to be on with Globus on Friday night. I guess I'll come on
Hi, Mandy.
a little beforehand.
Go ahead and start off.
We'll do the combined chat thing because that's pretty cool.
Oof. The sanitizer is burning.
It's going to be me, producer Dave, and Globus. I'm very much looking forward to
We're going to start off with
our panel. That's tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern.
attention following us up. And he nearby jumped inside of the bowl.
He almost did jump inside the bowl.
He's the sheriff of this room.
That's a really nice fountain.
Morticia, one of the divas here that we got. I think we got like 2 or 3 divas. We got Mrs. Alice. We got Morticia.
Mrs. Alice.
I don't know if we can
Oh, those Alices are divas, all right.
And obviously Mrs. Jackie, the original. And here goes Mr. Nugget.
Mr. Nugget.
Roaming around over here rubbing against everything. Mr. Nugget is a little cuddle bear. He's really nice, really sweet. He's just a little shy. But once he's done being shy, he's really all over you all the time.
Super fluffy tail.
Well, just look at him. Little Nugget. And Mrs. Morticia, she's probably trying to get on top of us and change our hairstyle. She is a hairstylist. And
Yeah, your Alice is a handful.
Miss Kirby is looking at something. I don't know what she has her eyes set on.
Oh, are you not blind? Are not all the cats blind?
Looking at something right now. We do not know what she's looking at. She is locked in on it. Mrs. Kirby, she is the vocal one of the room. She can get really vocal. Really loud. She tries escaping through the glass window.
Maybe she's partially blind or something?
Thinking it's
How would you know if a cat was partially blind?
And here goes Mrs. Tara. Tara is enjoying her little bed. She is balled up right now. Her and Eric are sleeping beside of each other. And Mr. Nugget, see how Nugget is? He always wants attention. But
We'll give Nugget attention.
Meet him. But after a couple of visits, he should just be all over you.
I want a Nugget.
Mr. Eric is in his bed too. He was beside he still is beside a
Fluffy tail is also gorgeous.
They are sleeping near each other today, which is kind of surprising because usually Eric's with
If this was your first time riding along with the Troll Patrol, we always end with a animal video.
Rhonda, but I never see him and Orange really sleep together anymore. They used to a lot.
I try to switch it up, have different animals.
Friends in a way. I love Orange and Eric. And speaking of Peanut, here goes Mr. Peanut.
Peanut!
He's wandered in here. He's a shy guy.
We're big fans of the puppy boss.
Peanut are shy guys, Nugget and Peanut.
Parasocial. Parasocial loves to jack off.
Mr.
Has a problem watching porn. Have you watched porn and jacked off today?
Nugget. He's funny. And Mr. Peanut is Jelly Bean's little brother.
Because like I have like 3 or 4 times.
You guys can tell by the face.
But I don't go in people's chats and cry about it.
And follow us. There is Nugget running through.
Cicero. If you have money to donate, I always throw it towards animal causes. I love animals.
Yeah, that was Orange. Sounded like Kirby.
Also, legal work for poor people. I'm always for those causes.
Now she will do the rollover like Helen. Her and Helen does like the same rollover. If you pit them good enough.
You believe I stream for money?
And just
If I stream for money.
Mrs. Helen.
No. I stream because I love what I do. I've been in broadcasting for 25 years. This is the show that I would do if I am completely open to do whatever I want to do, because it is the show that my parents didn't have money to leave me.
She's not shy. She's just not always right.
I am a very poor man from Appalachia.
Get here. If you guys ever visit.
You see the kitty on the wheel.
And here goes Enzo. Enzo is Mr. Peanuts look-alike.
My parents did not have money to leave me.
Not the same, but they do look similar. I used to get them two mixed.
I am poor. I am from Appalachia. Did I steal money from somewhere?
Here goes Mrs. Dot. Don't know if she'll give us some raspy meows today or not.
No, I'm more likely to have money stolen off of me than I am to steal from anybody else.
Shyest in the room, her and Peanut. And then
I have ethics, morals.
Maybe. Cody's kind of shy, the new cat. But Cody is a really cutie bunch. He looks just like Mr. Billy Bob and Candy. But he's just a smaller version of Billy Bob.
I don't give a shit about money, my friend.
He will get out there sometime.
Honestly, the only time I think about money is when,
start running
I'm
around.
hungry.
Especially whenever I bring treats.
When the internet gets turned off.
Wanting treats.
Well, that's how rich people get rich. They steal money. That's what it's all about. This is an incredibly long video. I might stick with you guys for a little bit.
It's so funny.
I'm gonna say goodbye to YouTube and Kick and Rumble and all those. The podcast, light one up, tip one back. Oh yeah. Don't forget Sunday.
I cannot see.
I was doing my plug. Sunday is the 5th anniversary.
It's still not loading up, so.
The Troll Patrol pleads the 5th anniversary spectacular noon Eastern time.
With his blue eyes, you guys can finally see his eyes, right?
Rumble didn't start. I may have to fix it.
He is Mr. P. He can be a little spice.
It says it's working.
Try to let you believe that you can rub his tummy, and then he would try to get you. But he's gonna try to get me. Had to get my hand out of there.
Sunday noon. I'm gonna celebrate 420 with you guys.
With his little blue eyes.
Twitch people, stick with me. We're gonna watch this video, listen to music.
Try to show you guys his eyes. His eyes.
I mean, you can leave if you want to, DJ Dub. You can leave if you want to.
The shy man of the room. He is really, really shy, but he is really energetic, playful. He's
bye, YouTube peeps.
Roommates. He always tries to get him to be active. He would try to play with every.